It's the Beavers 27, number 1 USC 21. The Beavers have defeated the USC Trojans.
Oregon State did the unthinkable, defeating the number 1 team in the country, an upset that scrambled the polls. 2 weeks ago, Utah had their own scare against Air Force before Darrell Mack's late-game heroics.
Reaching for the goal line. Touchdown!
Mack's last-minute touchdown kept Utah undefeated. Now the Utes must pass the quiz. Freshman Jet Quiz Rogers of Oregon State. If Utah fails, the Beavers might end up with back-to-back Thursday night upsets over nationally ranked powers. This is college football on Versus.
Fitting of the old Olympic flame, Salt Lake City's been unseasonably warm this week, bound to get hotter tonight as the Beavers of Oregon State come bounding in to Rice-Eccles Stadium, trying to dash the hopes of 15th-ranked Utah with college football back on Versus. It's nice catching up with you a little earlier in the week. Along with Glenn Parker, I'm Joe Beninati. Tim Neverett chips in soon. Glenn, does Oregon State feel the need to uphold the honor of the Pac-10? The Mountain West has had the upper hand against them this season.
No, I don't think they do. I think they feel the need to have a better than 500 record. They've got to get a win. They're 2-2. It's about momentum for them going into the Pac-10 race.
Normally on campus, a quiz is much less threatening than a full-fledged exam, but you'd have a hard time selling that to USC. Quiz Rogers stumped them last week.
Well, he stumped them on the back of a great offensive line game from that offensive line at Oregon State. He's got great speed. He's got very good vision down the field. He's more like a punt returner, but he's got good leg drive as well, and he can get the extra yard.
Something's got to give then tonight because Utah's been bulletproof against the run.
Great against the run. You look at their NCAA ranks, but nothing as impressive as their game 2 weeks ago against Air Force, the number 1 team in the nation. They stumped them too.
The Utes are sporting a nifty 5-0 mark heading into this showdown, and this year, Darrell Mack has plenty of potent company with him in the backfield.
Yeah, he certainly does. You know, he's got Matt Asiata back, and Asiata is a guy that's a power runner, so it's a great 1-2 punch with him and Darrell Mack. But let's face it all goes through Brian Johnson. He's efficient, he makes the right decisions, and when he's on, this team is on.
Then again, when the Beavers are in a winning mood, they've been stingy against the run.
You're absolutely right. 2 losses, look at the yards, over 200 yards they've given up on the ground. In the 2 wins, less than 100. That's winning football.
The Utes and their fans are primed for this, sincerely interested in busting the BCS. They know the football world is watching.
Have the opportunity to have a Pac-10 team come to our stadium and a national audience on a Thursday night. I think it's a great opportunity for us.
That was the game I got hurt in last year, and I want to go out there and have great focus and great intensity and play well, and obviously come away with a win.
Rice-Eccles is packed to the rafters. Utah's played 3 of its first 5 on the road this evening. Mountain West Conference football on Versus against Oregon State of the Pac-10. And Tim Neverett has head coach Kyle Whittingham standing by.
Thanks, Joe. Kyle, sold-out house tonight. The team that knocked off number 1 last week is here. What does this game mean for your program? You come in here 5-0.
Well, it's a big game. Every week is big in Division I football. Every week is the playoffs. This night is no different.
All right. Good luck, Coach.
Thank you.
All right. Joe, back upstairs to you. It's a big one.
Indeed, Tim, and Mike Riley knows that, the head coach for Oregon State. He lives by the motto, if you don't get better, you're going to get beat. His team coming in off of a sensational victory a week ago for them on Thursday. The University of Utah playing on a short week after dispatching Weber State on Saturday. Oregon State will get the ball first. James Rogers and Patrick Henderson are the deep men. Ben Vroman will hit it for Utah, all red tonight in Salt Lake City. This place seats better than 45,000. They're all here tonight. We are underway. Rogers 7 yards deep.
Won't bring it back out. Oregon State with Lyle Moivau at quarterback. The junior from Torrance, California, got himself in great shape in the offseason. This guy doesn't mind scrambling if need be, and he has a competitive nature that head coach Mike Riley just loves. One thing we noticed, Glenn, he throws quite a fastball when he's got the good pocket around it.
Absolutely does. If there's one thing to look out for if you're Lyle Moivau is his touch has not been there. He throws it so hard sometimes it bounces right off the hands of his receivers.
Starting with 3 wideouts available on the first play from scrimmage. On the roll, into the flat. James Rogers is there, picks up the first down yardage. Let's check out our Wrangler starting lineup. Backs and receivers for OSU. Jaquiz Rogers is fun to watch. Morales is consistent. Straughter is a highlight waiting to happen. James Rogers, another speedster, and Kroom adds a veteran presence. Levitri is all Pac-10. Lindencole has come on strong up front. And Remmers has been a very welcome surprise at right tackle. After the first down pickup of 15, Moivau gets back to work, and he'll throw again. Looking over the middle, into coverage, and just over the hands of Terrell Cole. Our Wrangler starting lineup defensively for Utah. The front four is athletic. Misi's tough to block. Newman and Shelby lock down the middle. Kruger just never stops. The linebackers, Sylvester will be everywhere. Wright won't be far behind him. And Fotu loves to blitz. The secondary is talented. McCain and Smith on the corners. They love the turnovers. Johnson and Dale very much right place, right time. Defensive coordinator Gary Anderson knew he would have his hands full with the Oregon State Beavers tonight. Brady Camp is the H-back. Moivau throws that little bubble screen off the hands of James Rogers. It's ruled an incomplete pass. Not a lateral. Joe Dale was closing ranks.
Well, Utah had it covered, but the thing was the ball maybe a little high. Remember, James Rogers is a short guy, so the ball's got to come down when you're throwing from one hash to the other. You've got that little bit of ridge in the field. It's easy to overthrow that ball.
Glenn, what, we're 37 seconds in, and the muss is all cranked up across the way here at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Student section roaring its lungs out on 3rd and 10. Moivau underneath for James Rogers. Trying to make a play, dodging a tackler and across midfield. Rogers hits another block. And the speediest guy on the team, Bryce McCain, angles him out of bounds after a huge gainer. A pickup of 43.
Well, middle screen, number one. Number two, you get it in the hands of a guy who's really a punt returner. So you're gonna watch here. This is a great ISO. Well, look at, he comes under. Here's the ball. He's got blockers out in front. Off he goes. Now it's punt return. He's breaking loose. Great job. You see that center of gravity with a short guy. He gets hit right in the chops and bounces right off of it.
R.J. Stanford had the best shot at him on the Oregon State side of the field. There it was, and then the blocking helped out. From the Utah 23, Oregon State in white. Late in the play clock, straight ahead for Jaquiz Rogers. And he's flattened there by Stevenson Sylvester. What a day this young man had, a true freshman a week ago against USC.
Well, he had a great day because he's got good leg drive. He's tough to bring down because he is short, but being short's not enough. He can get lost because he's short, but he's got such good leg drive and such good strength. It's tough to bring him down unless you're right at the waist where you're supposed to be. Well, that's a lot farther down than are most guys.
Huge numbers, approaching 200 on the ground, and a couple of scores. Kroom comes in short motion on 2nd and 6. Right through, unblocked, and Moivau is buried by the middle backer, Mike Wright on the blitz.
And he almost dropped that ball. Watch his ability to hold on to the ball, his ball security could be an issue. He didn't see him coming, so it's one thing, but Mike Wright, nobody picks him up. That ball gets down in his, he's holding it up, and it almost drops down to his waist right there. As you can see it, and he starts grabbing onto it. Great job by Mike Wright. Good job by Gary Anderson of coming up with a very creative way of bringing your middle linebacker, who normally comes in that A gap, this time comes just in the B. He had a lot of respect for that Oregon State offensive line. You knew there'd be some gamesmanship early on 3rd and long. Make it 3rd and 14. Moivau out of the gun. Has time, drops it off underneath. It'll be shy of first down yardage. Wright and Sylvester teaming up to make the tackle there on the tight end, Kroon. You talk about the creative Gary Anderson there, especially going against the left side of that Oregon State offensive line. They've got a lot of starts over there. There's 47 starts between Levitri and Spear on the left side of that, and that's where he got the sack. Justin Cahoot is back in business at the place kicker spot for the Oregon State Beavers. Been bothered by a groin injury. This one's on its way, and it's letter perfect from 37. So Oregon State gets on the board first. The opening drive, the big play to James Rogers, good for 43. OSU on top on Versus. 15th ranked Utah has been getting used to getting out in front of its opposition. Tonight on Versus, Oregon State with a very effective opening drive, paid off by a Cahoot 37-yard field goal. Yeah, you know, the one thing you have to learn, and players learn this early, you never worry about opening drives, because they come out with some different looks. Your defense has some different looks. It's the adjustments that make the game. Kyle Whittingham, season by season, his records getting better and better since he's taken over. Longtime defensive coordinator. Back deep for the Utes, David Reed, along with Elijah Wesson. Cahoot, who bagged the field goal just moments ago, will kick off now for Oregon State. End over end. Reed 3 yards deep, and he's coming back with it. Nose of the football across the 15, and then brought down in one fell swoop. Utah's offense. Brian Johnson, 21-year-old senior from Texas. He's the conductor, he's the orchestrator. He's put up some exceptionally high completion percentage numbers this year, and he doesn't mind being in the limelight on national television. He is protected by a veteran and talented offensive line, working against an Oregon State defensive front that has exceptional quickness on the ends. Utah has to find a way to get a little field position here. Johnson will throw. Protection breaks down, and he gets drilled. Sackmaster Slade Norris in there to make the hit. The Wranglers starting lineup, backs and receivers. Max a bruiser. Godfrey loves to go over the middle. Brown's the big target. Castile is sneaky, and Sampson loves to get in the end zone. The O-line starts the surge. Beatles is all conference. Taylor is learning fast. Conley's back. He's seen it all. And Hensel is a pure skyscraper. David Reed was hesitant bringing the ball out of that end zone. It resulted in bad field position. Now they've got themselves a real hole if you're a Utah fan. He did look like he was hemming and hawing a little bit, Glenn. Yes, he did. 2nd and long for Brian Johnson. Fires this one over the middle. Complete. Castile is fearless there. As we look at Oregon State's defense, it's a 4-man front. Butler's the speed rusher. Booth and Paya are inside crushers. And Norris is always on sack alert. Christic is agile. Cornell waited 3 years to start, and Pankey covers ground at the linebacker spot. In the secondary, Lewis and Clark, savvy vets on the corners. Afalava and Laybourne are old school and tough as nails. Defensive coordinator Mark Banker. Both coaching staffs were in the Mutual Admiration Society this week. A lot of respect for each other's programs. They run the option pitch out there. And Utah picks up first down yardage. Cornell able to wrestle down Darrell Mack. But Mack, the 21-year-old senior out of California, gets the big gainer and moves the chains. Now, interesting right off the bat, it's motion over the top and a little option off to him, so you don't have to block everybody when he options. It's kind of nice. Mack up the field. But now, remember, when you're running outside with Mack, the way you come back is Asiata back in the middle, power game. So they're exactly on par for what Utah likes to do. Spread the field a little, then come back in the middle hard.
In our open, we talked about Mack having company in the backfield, and he's had a great attitude about it, sharing the carries with Asiata. It's Mack again off right tackle, and a swarming Oregon State front was waiting for him. Keith Pankey close by, last man off the pile.
You're absolutely right about Darrell Mack, though. He could have gone into tank. He could have gotten upset that he's splitting carries with Matt Asiata. Instead, coaches say this kid's really, he's taken to it. He hasn't been a bad egg at all. He's been a guy that welcomes that ability to get a little rest and have Asiata in the backfield with him.
You playing in the college ranks, playing in the pro ranks, you got to love those team guys. Team first.
I think you're absolutely right. Anybody in the locker room likes a team guy first.
On 2nd and 8, Johnson throws, puts it right in the seam there for one of his favorite targets, Godfrey, who was rattled by Austin Hall. But Godfrey is so tough after that pickup of 11.
One thing we know about Braden Godfrey is that he is their over the middle seam guy. Just a little dig route, just gets over one level and in front of the other. And credit Brian Johnson seeing that little hole and putting it right in that window.
With safety Al Ofalava bothered a bit by a groin muscle injury tonight, we expect to see a lot of the hard-hitting senior Austin Hall. He crunched Godfrey there, but not before Utah picks up another first down. Straight ahead, they'll run it. That was a direct snap with Asiata. So productive out of that formation in the first 5 weeks.
They do like to bring him in, have him line up at quarterback and just direct snap to him. So it makes you wonder, is he a running back or is he just a quarterback that doesn't throw the ball? But you got to keep, if you're a defense, you got to pay attention who's in that backfield.
Ciolelli now made the tackle for Oregon State, a junior college transfer from Snow College. Asiata stays in the backfield, this time at tailback. 2nd and long. Asiata skipping his way along the line of scrimmage and bullying his way inside of Oregon State territory. Last year, these two teams met in Corvallis, and it was a bumpy ride, especially for Utah on the injury front.
Yeah, first half, these two teams were tight. Matt Asiata right here breaks his leg on this play. So there's one weapon down. Brian Johnson now, option quarterback. He gets hit, a helmet right on the shoulder. He's out, and it's a tight game for a half, and after that, Oregon State blew the game open.
Oregon State, in fact, in that very same game, lost Jeremy Perry, their outstanding offensive lineman, to an injury, and he has not yet returned. On the toss, busting out wide. Utah inside of Oregon State territory. Eddie Wide, who they say is a very nice runner, has that ability to slide and skip along the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, what they did, this is just bin sweep, and you look at the big fellas out running. Schlotteroff out there, Beatles is getting out there. When the first time you get hit is 5 yards down the line, you gotta credit number one, play design. Number two, big offensive lineman running in front of you.
Brian Johnson scanning the defense. 1st and 10 for Utah, the 9th play of this drive. Darrell Mack is in the backfield. Johnson keeps, scampers inside the 30, cut down to the 25. Brian Johnson knows when to call his own number. Tim Clark tripped him up after the pickup of 14.
Well, they came out at the start of this drive, ran the little option to Mack, started hitting the corners. Then they came back with Asiata and Mack big in the middle. This is the result of those first few plays. You know what they're doing now to stop the perimeter run. You know what they're doing to stop the power run game inside. And it's a little zone read by the quarterback in the big game.
Earlier this year against UNLV, Johnson went 56 yards, a career best for a touchdown. Here, he flexes out of formation. They snap it directly in the backfield again. Showing a wrinkle or two. It doesn't always have to be Asiata as Victor Butler chased after Darrell Mack.
And, you know, that's a DN making a play way on the perimeter. That's a lot of speed out of a DN. Victor Butler is a fast guy.
Double barrel for Utah at that tailback position.
You take a look, you've got a power runner in Asiata, a more complete runner in Darrell Mack, but you look at the yards, how much more even could it be? 320 and 319 for those two backs.
Utah moving it smartly, 2nd and 6 from deep in Oregon State territory. Brian Johnson on a check down, fails it out there, and it's incomplete as he was trying to find Darrell Mack.
Well, Darrell Mack just happened to find and hear footsteps coming at him. He knew he was going to get hit when he caught this ball, and I think he took eyes off it just that split second. It's something you hear about all the time in football, but it does make a difference.
Kyle Whittingham's squad facing its third different third down conversion attempt. You see how productive they've been inside the red zone. Johnson has 5 wides in this formation. Oregon State rushing 5. Johnson on the quarterback draw, upended there. Good hustle, good tackle by Ben Terry, who tripped him up around the shoelaces.
Again, speed at that defensive end. You're in a pass rush situation. Ben Terry not getting pressure on the quarterback, spots the hole, spots the run, and takes off. Does a nice job of saving a first down for Oregon State.
All-American kicker Louis Sakota on those 2 misses you see. Both were in Colorado Springs in conference play against Air Force. One was into the wind, 48. The 54-yarder was hooked with the wind. This one from 33. Very much in his comfort zone and right down the chute. Sakota answers K-Hoot. Utah deadlocks Oregon State. We are 3-3 with college football continuing from Salt Lake City on Versus. Fans in the student section getting creative again with their signs here in Rice-Eccles Stadium. Oregon State and Utah tied up at 3. James Rogers and Patrick Henderson back deep for Oregon State. Rogers was the lead dog in that opening drive for OSU. Vroman puts a toe into it. 3 yards, 4 yards deep, and again, Rogers will stay put. Triple header coming up this Saturday on Versus. Kickoff starts 12:30 Eastern. Big 12 conference clash. 15th ranked Kansas and Iowa State matching up. Then at 4, the battle for the Commander-in-Chief trophy begins. Navy battling Air Force. And at 7:30 primetime, Pac-10, Washington and Arizona. Versus college football, it's wild out here. So we will be busy all around the country on Saturday. Lyle Moivau back at the helm for Oregon State. Completed 3 of his first 5 on that opening drive. It was good for 64 yards and a bunch of them to James Rogers. This is his younger brother, Jaquiz, scampering ahead. Short gain there. Paul Kruger was waiting to bring him to the earth.
Paul Kruger, for anybody that hasn't had a chance to see him play, might have better football IQ than just about any player in the Mountain West and maybe in the country. This guy just simply makes plays everywhere.
After the pickup of 1, we drift below 5 minutes to go in the opening quarter, tied up at 3. Moivau sets his feet, fires over the middle. Great catch. Leaping in the air, the leading receiver in terms of total catches, Shane Morales. He gets 15.
You really got to credit Shane. He knows he's going to get hit. When your quarterback throws high over the middle, like Moivau does here, and you can see Morales does a good job just coming right into that window, but the ball's high in order to get into that window, and that leaves Morales out to dry. He's going to get banged. Great job by Morales. Understanding he's going to get hit, still making the catch.
The quarterback did fit that one in there beautifully. James Rogers comes in motion. They give it to him on that fly sweep. James Rogers picked up nearly 600 yards on that play last year. It's not featured as much this year.
They do a lot of bringing James Rogers in motion from one side of the formation to the other, and what he is he's a misdirection for his brother, Jaquiz, in the backfield. And he also lead blocks for Jaquiz. So you've got it's a very inventive setup and creative setup that they've come up to use the 2 Rogers brothers on reverses, on lead blocks. and on the straight runs for Jaquiz.
OSU loves to run. Utah has been stout against the run. More than likely, that will change at some point one way or another tonight. Jaquiz Rodgers, fleet of foot. There's a flag down as he breaks into Utah territory. Rodgers picked up 13.
I think they're going to get the right guard, Greg Pete, for a little bit of a hold here.
73 offense, 10 yards previous spot.
Eagle-eye Glenn Parker, right on the money.
Well, unfortunately, nowadays in football, anytime you are on top of a guy, they call a hold. Here's a look right here. Jaquiz, there's big 73. You can see he's got a little bit of the jersey there. That's what the official's seeing, the pulling of the jersey. Even though he's running with the guy and he's actually going to pancake the defensive man, that's not what the refs look at. They only look at that jersey getting pulled, and they like to flag the big fellas.
Referee tonight is Claire Gossman. This is College Football on Versus. Joe Beninati, Glenn Parker, Tim Nevitt with you tonight in Salt Lake City. Red-jerseyed Utah playing host to Oregon State. Moivau. That was deflected. It flutters and falls shy of the intended receiver there, Darrell Catchings. Koamisi got a hand up. Score tied up at 3. We have time to share with Tim Neverett.
All right, Joe, 2 plays ago you saw Jaquiz Rodgers run the ball, and one of the things that USC had trouble with was tackling him. Gary Anderson, defensive coordinator, said you got to tackle lower this week. So they brought in Michael Robinson, number 24, you see him there, to replicate what Jaquiz brings. He's listed at 5'8", and what Gary Anderson did is they gave him the ball all week in practice. It was a short week, and they tried to tackle him low. That's the best they could do to replicate the diminutive Rodgers.
Yeah, and he wasn't being a kidder as Moivau sets and fires again. That's rejected by Misi. Koamisi very active on the edge. You just have to tackle abnormally low against Jaquiz Rodgers.
You absolutely do, because of his stature and because of his leg drive. But that's the second pass in a row blocked of Moivau's. He has a sidearm slinging motion, and it's very surprising that he doesn't get more knocked down. Watching the film on this kid, I thought, boy, nobody's getting to this ball. Utah, every one of their D linemen, hands up, picket fence. They've gotten 2 already.
Hecker gets the punt away. This is a line drive beauty that drives Terrell Cole back and then has a little backspin. Everything worked out well as it's down by Chris Johnson, a 56-yard punt. We are still tied up at 3, just over 3 minutes to go in the opening quarter from Salt Lake City. Utah fans thrilled to have their heroes on Versus tonight with college football as they play host to Oregon State in a jam-packed Rice-Eccles Stadium. Utah coming in with a mark of 5-0. This Oregon State squad, fresh from their upset of #1 ranked USC with a mark of 2-2. They've won their last 2. And the growing trend is for them to get better as the season goes along. Here in Salt Lake City, along with Glenn Parker and Tim Neverett, I'm Joe Beninati. Brian Johnson on the give, and that's a quick tackle by Slade Norris.
Slade Norris already making his presence felt with his speed. He's got very good balance and leverage. He plays really well with leverage. You watch him right here. It's going to be a dip right under. And he comes right under Beatles there. Zane Beatles oversteps on the run. When you're down here, you have to be so conservative with your steps as a lineman that if you overstep and get beat inside just like that, you're going to lose yourself 4 or 5 yards, and it's almost a safety.
Slade Norris, the senior, speed is his greatest asset. A former walk-on, converted linebacker and safety. From his own end zone, Brian Johnson in a heap of trouble. That's incomplete as he tried to get it to his tight end, Colt Sampson.
That might be the worst pass we've ever seen him make. And I say that because he's normally very smart with his decisions, but he's got a guy in his face, he can't see the defense, and yet he throws a lofting ball towards the corner, where really the only option besides incomplete pass is an interception. So that might be the first time we've seen Brian Johnson make a bad decision at quarterback.
Defensive coordinator Mark Banker signaling in the defensive set for Oregon State on 3rd and 16. From the Utah 2, unenviable position for Johnson. Throws that one over the middle and just a bit too long as he was trying to find Godfrey again. Utah will have to punt.
Luckily, Utah has one of the best defensive players on the field in punter Louis Sakota. Now, in pregame, I watched Sakota kick, and he was punting them from his end line all the way out to about the plus 45. So he was putting them out past midfield. Now, this one's going to be even a little tighter than that one was because of how close he is to the goal line. But that's about where he was putting them, about 5 yards past midfield.
Sammy Schroeder is deep for Oregon State, battling a little bit of a hip pointer as he waits for this Sakota boot. Tracks it at the Utah 45. Runs into 3 tacklers, a former Pac-10 punt returner, all conference. Eddie Wide makes the tackle. Tuesday, October 14th, the Soup's On. Versus debuts its new original series, Sports Soup, hosted by comedian Matt Eisman, featuring the week's best highlights, lowlights, and everything in between. Sports Soup, Tuesdays and Thursdays, premiering October 14th at 10, right here on Versus. Have to check that out.
Absolutely, looks like a great show.
Oregon State showing a bit more balance than Utah in the early going of this 3-3 affair. Late in the opening quarter, Moival sends James Rogers in motion and gives to Jaquiz. Stacked up near the line of scrimmage.
What you see here, though, is how important field position is in football, because Oregon State got the ball on their 20, didn't do much, but they got enough yards when they punted. They sat Utah way back. Utah couldn't do anything, and now Oregon, just really on the basis of playing 3 good defensive plays, gained themselves about 40 yards of field.
When you took a look at this Thursday night clash, were you anticipating a defensive battle?
I was anticipating good defense on both sides of the ball. Whether it would be a battle or not, that's up for the discussion, but you knew both teams had very good defenses coming in.
2 tight ends set here for Oregon State. Moival to throw. And for the 3rd time, it's knocked down. This time it's Kruger, the other end, after Colomisi got Moival twice on the last series.
Well, what Kruger does is he gets blocked and comes off the block, understanding what the play is, and gets right up in Moival's face. You're going to see it right here. He's going to be on the right side of your screen over here. See, he's getting blocked, but he understands and gets his hands up well, leaves his feet, blocks it. Probably could have caught it if he was thinking, if he maybe wasn't a defensive end. If he was a linebacker, he might have caught that.
Oregon State 1 for 3 on 3rd down conversions so far.
I'm talking about Kruger's IQ in football. It's way up there.
Out of the shotgun with a bunch formation late in the play clock. Moival over the middle. James Rogers going nowhere. Stevenson Sylvester was right in his hip pocket.
And, you know, if you're Oregon State, what you're seeing right now is Stevenson Sylvester right there, one of the few linebackers that has the speed who can cover a guy like James Rogers. Stevenson Sylvester's a speed guy. You look at him right in the middle of the field, right on that hash mark behind the official. Look at the closing speed, wraps up. It's a good job understanding the football. When he's back there, he knows his zone, and he knows who he's got. And when that drag route comes across, he was on it.
Hecker is in to punt for Oregon State. Terrell Cole standing at his 10. Cole takes it and is dropped in lightning quick fashion after that 29-yard punt. Christic makes the tackle. We were speaking with Kyle Whittingham, and the coach gave us his thoughts on another chance to make a dent against the BCS conference.
You know, we've got a very good track record against the BCS schools over the past 6 or 7 years, but each year is its own new entity and new challenges and so forth. But to have the opportunity to have a Pac-10 team come to our stadium and a national audience on Thursday night, I think it's a great opportunity for us.
One that they were very anxious to get going. They had to endure the long day waiting for the night game. Darrell Mack is in the backfield with Brian Johnson. Some misdirection. Not fooling the Oregon State front. Elijah Wesson had the ball.
The thing with the Oregon State front, when you watch them, you see Pernell Booth and Stephen Paya in the middle. And what they do so well is they eat up blocks. They take two offensive linemen. They take a gap with their body and a gap with the offensive lineman. What that does is it creates a mash of people in there. Very tough to run. USC found out last week how hard it was when those two guys determine where the ball goes.
Oregon State won the line of scrimmage battle, both sides of the ball in that one, and with their deserving victors over the Trojans. We're done with one quarter in Salt Lake City. The picture is clear. It's Oregon State and Utah. Tied up at 3 after 15 minutes. Back in a moment on Versus. Something tells me they ran out of poster board in Salt Lake City today. Fans bringing their placards with them to Rice-Eccles Stadium. Rooting on the home team, the University of Utah Utes, trying to go to 6-0 for the first time since 2004 when they did break the BCS.
You see what happens as they're pinned back. It's very tough for them to go with their perimeter running game. So now they got a little more space. They can do more things offensively.
Brian Johnson intercepted. Offalava on his way to the end zone. Touchdown Beavers. Al Offalava read it all the way.
Offalava's just sitting on the hash. He's playing center field. Safeties don't have to do a lot if they're sitting in zone coverage and the quarterback doesn't see him. Great job, Offalava. He's just sitting there waiting on it. Here's you're going to get a good view down here. This ball's going right down the hash, right into Offalava's hands. Offalava is sitting on that hash and just moved with the quarterback's eyes right to it.
Cahoot on to tackle on the extra point. Utah head coach Kyle Whittingham said, we have to be better with the ball. Turnovers are going to be the key tonight, and the early one hurts. The extra point try is pushed. Cahoot missed it to the right. We need to step away. We'll catch our breath. Offalava doing just the same after the interception dash on. Glenn, a couple of weeks ago, we had Utah on Versus. Brian Johnson did not have a good first half against Air Force. He made amends in the second half big time. He won't be happy about that INT just a few moments ago.
No, he won't. And making amends against an Air Force who runs the ball 90% of the time might be a little easier than an Oregon State team that can grind it out and pass on you. So it's still so tight we can't say anything about what will come. But if Brian Johnson doesn't start focusing now, then you've got to start worrying about his mental state from here on out.
David Reed, a 21-year-old junior, waiting for this one from Justin Cahoot, who can't be feeling all too good himself after the miscue on the point after try. From the 5. Reed, huge hole down the sideline. Reed still on his feet, cutting it back inside. All the way down to the 15-yard line. And they love it in Salt Lake City. Casey Chose made the tackle.
Well, this is, when you're a special teams coach, you say you go north and south and you hit the hole. And you watch him, he comes up, it's one cut, and now I'm running to daylight. When you do this, you make the kicker miss, picks up a nice block right there, and he's out. Run to daylight. That's what you tell your kids.
All the coaches talking with us as we watch the reaction from the sideline. Brian Johnson says, yeah, give me as good a field position as you can. You can go all the way if you want, David Reed. Brought down at the 15. All the discussion with the coaches this week about the playmaking ability of David Reed. They want to get him the ball more. There, he does very well on special teams.
Well, that's one way to get him the ball more, put him back there. But they did say, here's a guy that with just all the talent in the world had an incredible junior college career. And now here he is out here. How do we get him the ball? That's what you do. You get him the ball on kickoff returns. Now they're looking to see whether he did go out of bounds, I think.
Referee Claire Gossman has been handed the headset as Reed was tiptoeing that sideline. A wave of blockers in front. This play is now under review. If you're just tuning in with us, it's college football on Versus.
Here's another look at it. We'll get a look. That right foot's in, left foot's in. That is very close, and that will be whether there is enough evidence to overturn it. You can't tell from this angle at all. The first angle, very tough to tell.
So there was no definitive evidence to overturn that spot.
And as much as we can look at it and say he's out, you just can't overturn that call, and that's a very good call by the officials.
Freddie Brown goes to the boundary side of the formation. Utah back in the red zone again. Trying to answer the Oregon State Beavers, who just struck on an interception return by Al Afalava. Johnson, quarterback draw. And then he ducks for cover as Austin Hall was right there closing ground on him. Back to the INT a few moments ago.
Yeah, you got Afalava. He's playing center field, and what he does is just drop. Now you're going to see a wide receiver come across the formation. That will lead him to the seam where he plays center field. Really simple. Watch his eyes as he goes. When the man crosses his face, he realizes there's off balance to the middle. He follows, plays center field. He's right there for the ball.
The guy who had a couple of fumble recoveries against UCLA last year gets the pick there and the pick six. They give it to Castile. Tracing his steps with him, the senior Laybourne, with plenty of help from the linebacking core.
One of the hard things about running perimeter without misdirection against Oregon State is the speed of the inside 7 of Oregon State. They play 7 in the box, fast and strong. Take a look at the red zone defense. They've given up 9 touchdowns and 2 field goals in 12 opportunities. So it bodes well if you're a Utah fan.
This third down and short. Darrell Mack slicing inside, keeping his feet moving, but ripped back by Bryant Cornell and Ben Terry.
Good enough for the first down. He kept his shoulders down, ran behind his pads, got that first down right behind the center and right guard, behind Zane Taylor and Robert Conley. You get a look at it here. He runs right to that little gap. See him running right over Zane Taylor's back. You never like to have the running back up your backside if you're an offensive lineman.
Not a good thing. Not a good thing.
It does. It's painful. It's not fun.
Zane Taylor was the big question mark at the beginning of the year, the 20-year-old sophomore center. All he's done is grade out the best on the offensive line 3 of the 5 games. Asiata, the direct snap. Asiata crunched. Keaton Christic, perhaps the most athletic of the linebackers, joining forces with Paya to turn Asiata away. It's the one thing we saw, among many, I should say, from the defense from Oregon State when they stopped USC. The way they close on the football, they come there in a ferocious, with a ferocious attitude.
Defensive tackles getting off the ball, linebackers attacking gaps on the run. It's big for them.
Johnson into the end zone. A one-handed leaping grab somehow by Godfrey, but he did not get a foot down. A tremendous catch, but not in the field of play.
You know, this ball, just too much on it. Look at Godfrey. There's a reason the people in the Muss, the students in the Muss, they love Braden Godfrey.
Over 1,000 receiving yards in his career for head coach Whittingham.
There's the Muss right there, all the crazy students.
Plenty of fuss in the Muss. Even when they're down by 6, but knocking on the door again. Utah in red. Johnson with all day. Now the protection breaks down, and he's ripped to the turf. Slade Norris for the second time on the night, introducing himself to the Ute quarterback.
Yeah, he and Pernell Booth got in there. You know, Brian Johnson has to have a clock in his head now. As he's back there, you can count it out. He's got a lot of time. He's looking through his progression. He pumps once and holds it, and then it's just a little late. As you see, Pernell Booth lands late. Slade Norris, I'll tell you what, Norris is a motor guy, and he plays with leverage. You hate going against guys like that if you're a tackle.
Louis Sakota on. They'll call this a 29-yard attempt. Ripped right on through and carving into the Oregon State lead. As we are now 3.5 minutes deep in the second quarter. Here's our EAS energy drink player profile, and it's on Louis Sakota, the All-American who pulls double duty here for the Utes.
Well, you know, you like having a kicker, first off, that's accurate. He's 83% of his field goals, can kick the long ones, as you can see, a 53-yarder. But then when he's your punter, he could be your most valuable defensive player. He gains ground for you. He puts teams in a hole, and that helps your defense, and your defense helps your offense, obviously.
Glenn, I was reading a newspaper article about Louis, and if I'm not mistaken, agents have been contacting his father. Do you think Louis Sakota has an NFL future?
Oh, I think he does. Hey, listen, when you can do both kick and punt, you become an asset to any NFL team, which has a 53-man roster limit. So that's important. And if you can be proficient in both, that's what's a rarity. He can do both well. Now, in pro football, in the NFL, where the field position game is even more important than it is in college, it becomes that much more important to have a great punter. And I'll tell you what, he's that type of player.
Ben Vroman handles the kickoff chores. James Rogers muffed that one, and he's going to come out with it. James Rogers hits the seam and then gets tackled up high. Brought down by Justin Jones, a 22-yard return.
Now, I'll tell you, his coach is going to be all over him for taking this ball out. First, he bobbles it, then he takes it out. And he'll say, Coach, I got it out to the 22. If I'd have stayed, I'd only go to the 20. I don't care. If I'm the coach, I'm very upset at Mr. Rogers for taking that ball out.
Kyle Whittingham staring in at this next defensive series for his Utes. Lyle Moivau, just less than 62% completion-wise this season, brings the Beavers to the line of scrimmage. First back through, straight ahead for no gain. Paul Kruger is there to stop Jacquizz Rodgers as we check in with Tim Neverett.
All right, special guest Jim Boylan. He's the head basketball coach here at the University of Utah. Getting set to start your second year. I know you're excited.
Yeah, I am excited. I'm really thankful to be here and excited about what we're building. And it's just it's a great time to be a Ute.
Now, I know we've got a number of your games coming up on Versus 2. We're going to see the big 7-footer Luke Neville back. I know you were relieved you decided to come back.
Yeah, I was. I was very relieved. He's a big part of what we do. He's improved. He's improved his size, his strength, his touch around the basket, and we're just thankful to have him back.
Mountain West basketball has improved. I know that your program's improved. You're going to see UNLV in the top 25. BYU is going to be good again. San Diego State will be good again. What do you make of this league?
Well, I think it's a great league. I think that it's so hard to win on the road. It reminds me of the Big Ten. You know, big crowds, tough places to play, great coaches, very, very competitive, and it's fun.
Jim, great to see you. We'll see you again real soon in the gym, all right?
All right, brother. Thanks a lot.
Joe.
Coach and Tim, thanks very much. This is 3rd down and 5 for Oregon State. Moivau off the hands of Jacquizz Rodgers, incomplete.
Well, well-designed play. It's a pick play is what they're running there. Outside receiver Daryl Ketching comes in and picks in order to get that ball out there. Unfortunately, the ball's bobbled. Well-designed. It works great. Unfortunately, you got to make the play.
Good to see Coach Boylan on the sidelines for the Utes. BYU, UNLV expected to be very good in conference. And of course, we've got you covered on Mountain West Conference basketball as Terrell Cole fields this punt at the Utah 41. The Beavers on top of the Utes in Salt Lake City. The lead is 3 for Oregon State. Back in a moment.
Game break from College Football Central. Matt Grothe trying to rally his South Florida team. Caps a 79-yard drive with that sneak. South Florida within 3 of Pitt. Now back to Joe, Glenn, and Tim in Salt Lake.
Ted, thank you very much. The Bulls trying to get to 6-0 for a second consecutive season. We are enjoying a Mountain West Conference Pac-10 showdown in Salt Lake City. Oregon State has the lead on Brian Johnson's Utes, 9-6.
You're seeing two very disciplined defenses right now, Joe. Guys are staying at home. They're not getting out of their lanes. They're staying with their gaps, and they're pursuing to the football. Good defensive battle.
Johnson will throw. Deep. And overthrows his intended target. They were looking for Jeremy Brooks.
Again, Slade Norris in the backfield hitting Johnson. He's been back there all day.
Brian Johnson has misfired on his last 6 passing attempts. Oregon State facing a nationally ranked team in 3 of its first 5 outings this year. Penn State and USC, and now Utah tonight. And the boys playing defense for Oregon State, as advertised, have been tough.
Well, you know, the thing about Oregon State is they started slow with those 2 losses, but so many young faces on both sides of the ball, they're just kind of coming into their own.
Mike Riley talked about how well they were practicing to get them back in order. Asiata trying to get outside. Norris won't allow it, nor will Keaton Christic, who turned the play back in from his linebacker position. He had 10 tackles against the Trojans last Thursday. Afalava, who has the touchdown in this game. The interception return, a 26-yard INT for 6. Utah's points coming on 2 Louis Sakota field goals.
Well, with Johnson's inaccuracy right now down the field, they got to find a way to get the ball in the hands of a playmaker at about 5 yards, and hopefully he misses a tackle. So look for a drag route, something to get the ball out and short.
5 wide, going long and down the middle, and jumping in the air. Castile makes a great catch.
Now that's why I'm in the booth right there, because he has been so inaccurate downfield. I would never have asked him to make that throw, and yet Coach Andy Ludwig knows his guy, goes right back to him, runs the same route, just a good seam route with Castile, and he's on target this time. Offensive line blocks this time. Everything works for him.
He got good position on Austin Hall, picks up 44. And Utah driving deep into Oregon State territory. And San Francisco, California native Castile can be so clever, especially in this formation coming out of the backfield. On the option pitch, Castile skipping along and then getting knocked down. Greg Laybourne was there to say hi.
Braden Godfrey out blocking for him. And you know, the thing is, you always talk about a receiver who doesn't get his hands in the right place and gets a hole. Braden Godfrey out there realized he was in a bad spot, took his hands off. His man makes a tackle. It's good for 4 yards. But you know what? It's not a penalty for 10. That's a smart football play.
Offensive coordinator Ludwig says that Godfrey is so good at the point of attack when he's blocking. So tough. 2nd down, let's call it 6. Brian Johnson, quarterback draw, hopping inside of 1 tackler, and then cut down as we have Tim Neverett sharing more on Brian Johnson.
Well, you know, guys, he's very experienced being a senior quarterback, and offensive coordinator Andy Ludwig loves the fact that getting plays into Brian Johnson's pretty easy. The wristband he's got has 70 plays in the game script this week. A younger player might not be able to handle the 70 plays. Plus, he only has to get a couple of terms into the game. Brian knows the protections, the checkdowns, all the other nomenclature he needs to get the entire play to the rest of the team. A younger, less experienced quarterback couldn't do that.
Tim, Coach Ludwig was telling you about how they deal with the new timing issues. Johnson, protection starting to break down, heaves it wide open, back of the end zone. Touchdown, Freddie Brown.
Well, your secondary has to be on par with your D-line. Good job of making sure that Brian Johnson didn't have anywhere to go with the ball. Brian kept himself alive. His wide receivers kept themselves alive. They get themselves a touchdown out of it.
Freddie Brown has been a big positive for Utah this season. And there, on the receiving end of that 14-yard strike, he gives the Utes their first advantage of the night. Louis Sakota's extra point try is perfect. Utah defending its home turf. The 22-year-old senior Freddie Brown keeping the play alive. Brian Johnson finds the big wideout all alone for 6. and the QB is pleased.
Ted Robinson back at College Football Central. Roland Williams, Kelly Stofford join me for the Craftsman Halftime Report. We'll check in on how South Florida's faring in their attempts to stay unbeaten, analyze the first half from Salt Lake City, and look ahead at our big triple header Saturday on Versus. All on the Craftsman Halftime Report coming up. Now back to Joe, Glenn, and Tim in Salt Lake.
Ted, thank you very much. We are going to be very, very busy on Versus this Saturday. There's Mountain West Conference action tomorrow, Glenn, involving BYU. They go on the road in Logan, Utah. They blanked Wyoming and UCLA in succession. The last time they squared off with Utah State, they shut them out too.
I have a feeling you might see something equivalent tomorrow. BYU very strong, Utah State not up to their par.
A 14-game win streak on the line. As Henderson will kneel with this in the back of the end zone. We revisit the last Utah strike. Yeah. Brian Johnson to Freddie Brown.
Let's take a look. Here's your safety up here, Laybourne. What he's going to do, as you watch him, I want you to see the routes that transpire. Now, I'm going to show you Freddie Brown here, and I'm going to show you what happens as we stop it. This is Freddie Brown, and this is a dig route. Here's Laybourne. He bites right there, and Freddie Brown just finds the void. As you'll see, oh, there's no safety back there anymore, and Freddie Brown's open, and Brian Johnson, the experienced quarterback, finds him.
Oregon State playing without normal starting cornerback Brandon Hughes tonight. He was bothered by a hamstring injury. Keenan Lewis starting in his place. Lyle Moivau for Jacques Rogers, and the youngster is not going anywhere. Greg Newman sniffing that one out. Newman, who has been outstanding in the words of his defensive coaches.
You have to be impressed with both of these defenses, particularly the inside sevens. Why? Because of gap control, because they're not over pursuing. And when you're, particularly like right now, Utah, with a guy like Jacques Rogers, it's easy to over pursue. You think he's made a hole, think he's made a break, and you take off after him, and you leave a gap for him to run through. Very good job of discipline by both defenses.
Second and long. Moivau sends James Rogers in motion and gives to Jacques, who bounces it out across the 25. Rogers had that huge day against USC. He's not finding the running so easy tonight.
No, he's not. And once again, credit that defense being disciplined in their gaps. Every time they're getting blocked, but they're staying where they're supposed to be. They're staying at home, and they're not falling for that over pursuit that you saw USC do a week ago.
Sellout crowd in Salt Lake City getting loud right now on 3rd and 5. Utah showing a 4-man rush. Moivau's pass low and away as he tried to get it to Morales. There's a flag down.
Well, it's along the line of scrimmage, probably an offsides because they did not call the play dead. But we'll find out. They'll let us know.
Referee Claire Gossman informing that the penalty is against Utah.
And you can see on this end, looks like Kruger just jumps a little over anxious to get past Levitri there. One of the better tackles in the Pac-10, Andy Levitri, number 66 for Oregon State there.
This Utah squad takes penalties. Kyle Whittingham says we're going to take penalties because of our aggressive nature, as long as we're smart about it. Well, he doesn't mind.
And he pointed to look at your top 20 teams. Most of them are pretty high in penalties.
Kroom in motion for Oregon State. Now settles in. Jacques Rogers bounding off of tacklers. Robert Johnson, a big presence in the middle, stepping right into the void defensively for Utah.
And by the way, an offsides like they just had is not considered a smart penalty.
No.
That's considered a mental error, especially a mental error that results in a first down, 4 more downs, and field position all in one try. Because now, obviously, you're punting from a much better spot than you were just a minute ago.
A shade less than 5 minutes separating us from the Craftsman halftime report on Versus. OSU held to just 21 yards on the ground. Moivau smothered in the backfield. Wrapped up by Derek Shelby. The ball was free. And Utah recovers. Derek Shelby playing inside at 245 pounds. They say they have to be creative with him. Well, he got in there in a heartbeat.
Well, they say he's small enough. That's why they got to be creative. He's working on the left guard. Does a great job. Puts his hand right under Adam Spear's shoulder. Humps him out of the way. The old Reggie White move, the hump move. If you get a guy off balance and you get your hand up inside of him, you can get him to move no matter how much he outweighs you by. Good job right there by Shelby getting under Adam Spear.
Nai Fotu recovered the fumble, and it's a short field now for Utah as the turnover story is level. Oregon State turned their one interception into 6 points. Compliments of Al Afalava. Brian Johnson out of the gun. Straight ahead, they'll run it. The power running efforts of Darrell Mack. Second team all-conference last year in the Mountain West. Dwight Roberson came up to get him after the gain of 7.
Well, you see this, you're pulling Schlotterhoff off around, comes to the inside of that block, does a nice job, but what this is about quick change offense and defense, and you come out with emotion, and Utah comes out with a big first down gain on the quick change turnover.
Saw a big smile on your face when Andy Ludwig called Caleb Schlotterhoff a mauler on the offensive line.
It's what offensive linemen like.
Direct snap, they're going to throw out of it, lobbing it into the end zone, and just a bit long for Castile. Darrell Mack showing off his throwing arm.
Well, that kind of play will kill you if you're an offensive coordinator, because you've shown it once, you can't really show it again now. So you had one chance with it, you overthrew it, so now you got to figure out where to come with it. And you can see he pulls up, and he doesn't have his feet where he wants them. He just kind of lofts it up. You can tell he's not a quarterback. And because of that, he's got a little too much momentum and just gets it too far. There's Andy Ludwig up there, and he's got to be a little frustrated right now with that one.
Glenn, as time allows, as this game goes along, I want you to tell me why the direct snap to a non-quarterback is so in vogue these days in college football. Wesson comes in motion. There's the pitch. Stepping out, working out there was Darrell Mack.
Darrell Mack with good speed. Brent Castile out there with the big block. That's where it happens, on the perimeter, on the edge. Can your wide receivers hold up? Look to the right of your screen. You're going to see number 5, Castile, the wide receiver out there working on the corner. Good job, keeps his hands up, keeps his guy. There it is right there. I want you to look right there. There's the block. Look at him. Oh, hands are inside. There's Mack running for the corner. That's a big-time block by Brent Castile.
Glenn, 4th time in the first half. Utah's been in the red zone. 2 field goals and a touchdown so far. Now 1st and 10. Ryan Johnson throws that one low. Nice catch. Practically taking it off the turf was Godfrey.
Yeah, Keenan Lewis right on him, though. The speed of Oregon State's defense, particularly their inside 7, but hey, they're DBs too, because they're supposed to be fast. But I'm impressed with the speed of both of these defenses right now, running sideline to sideline, keeping things contained. Good job by both defenses right there. That was Keenan Lewis. A good job on his part.
Since 2001, Mark Banker's squad in the top 7 in the country in forced turnovers. They'd like to create one here. Castile flexes back into the backfield. Ryan Johnson runs the option. Castile sprints to the pylon. No signal yet.
This one might be one they have to review. The official was out of position, had to run up there, couldn't see it. The opposite side judge couldn't see it as well. This one they might look at. Let's take a look. Here it is. It's the option. Look out, Braden Godfrey right there, number 81 with the big block, and right in front of you, you're going to see him come into the picture. And here's Castile laying it out. Hard to tell whether he got the ball over the pylon or his foot was out first.
Well, they're going to give it to him.
I think it was.
They are giving it to him. They are giving Castile the touchdown, but this is going to have to be reviewed. There was never a signal on the field.
You're right. There was never a signal on the field. From that replay we saw, very tough to determine. We'll have to wait and see what the officials see and say what they can. They have to overturn it. Now remember that. Here's the play. Option. Leave a man unblocked. And there's Braden Godfrey blocking downfield for you. And here we go. Well, it certainly looked like he probably got it across the pylon before the left foot hits the ground. I don't think, I would say it's a touchdown. I don't think there's enough to overturn it, Joe.
As announcers, we're hamstrung by the fact that you're waiting for the guys who are wearing the zebra stripes to give you the sign. They never gave you the touchdown sign as Castile dove to the corner.
They didn't come through for you.
No, they didn't.
They didn't.
Not a lot of help. And as a result, video review is required to check this out.
Another good look here. So tough, so close. I don't see how they overturn the call on the field.
The officials set the ball down, waiting for Louis Sakota's extra point try. A delayed celebration triggered after Claire Gossman, the referee, says Castile got in there with help from video review. At one point, this was a 9-3 game. Utah has taken command late in the first half. Not far away from our Craftsman halftime report. We'll be checking back in at College Football Central in a matter of moments. Ted, Roland, and Kelly are warming up. Guys back at College Football Central will be checking out the South Florida Pitt game. Roland and Kelly will be going back and forth with their analysis, and we'll set you up for 3 big games on Saturday. Big 12, Mountain West, and Pac-10 action all coming your way on Versus this weekend. They love the Thursday night action here at Rice-Eccles. They love the fact that the Utes have battled back to take control. James Rogers and Patrick Henderson awaiting the kickoff. James Rogers will not be brave this time, kneeling in the back of the end zone. As we return to Utah's last strike, it's Castile acrobatically to the corner.
A little bit of misdirection. You run him there, your offensive tackle here will block down and then get out on the block and then over the top, and you option right there. Really well designed misdirection. Get your offensive lineman in the right position to make blocks, and then it's optioning off a man you've already actually got blocked. Well designed play by Andy Ludwig.
17 straight now for Whittingham's bunch since the Afalava touchdown. Let's see what Moivau has up his sleeve as there's movement on the line of scrimmage.
Well, are they going to call coming across the line, or?
Ball start, 66 offense, 5 yards on first down.
Well, they get big Andy Levici, the left tackle, who I was singing the praises of a little earlier as one of the better tackles in the Pac-10. And, you know, that's where the defense is allowed to move and you're not. It's not really fair for the big uglies up there.
Levici, one of the best they've had at Oregon State in a long time. Oregon State's been starting rather deep in its own territory compared to where Utah has been kicking drives off. Jacquizz Rodgers breaks loose. Rodgers to midfield, hauled down by 3 tacklers. McCain with all that speed, and Johnson had to track him down. Quiz Rodgers gets loose for 32.
It is a disservice to Jacquizz Rodgers to say he does this because he's small. He does it because he's got great vision and he's got good blocking in front of him. That's what it is. I don't care how big he is. The fact is he saw the hole and made a nice move to get into it.
Moivau working quickly here, sets up the screen. Lots of running room again for Jacquizz Rodgers, deep into Utah territory as the Beavers offense is starting to hum right along. 28 more on that
Screenplay.
Well, if you're the offensive coordinator, Danny Langsdorff, you know who your guys are, and you got to get it to them. And that is, I've got strength at the O-line, I've got strength with Jacquizz Rodgers, and I'm going to exploit those matchups. And that's 2 plays right in a row what he's done.
Listed at 5'6", 180 pounds, but he has great strength and an outstanding burst, obviously, once he gets the ball in his hands. 150 with which to work in the opening half. Jacquizz Rodgers this time halted at the line of scrimmage. Paul Kruger got in there and earns the cheers.
Paul Kruger, Mike Whitewright, all these guys are trying to get in there and make plays. I'll tell you what, right now, Danny Langsdorff is trying to find that combo that works for him. 2 great plays, then he gets stuffed. Now he's got to figure out, where do I go from here?
Moival throwing over the middle. Beautiful touch there. Touchdown. Morales right on the mark.
What they say in football, it's not how you react, it's how you respond. They don't care how these kids felt about that touchdown that was just scored on them, and the fumble or the interception and all that. What they care about how they come back on the next drive, and this offense just came back with 1 great drive.
Cahoot on for the extra point. He missed one earlier tonight. The Beavers had made 201 straight extra points before a 4th quarter miss last week, a streak that began in 04. Now they're starting another kind of streak. This is Morales, though. Perfectly thrown ball.
Yeah, that's a great thrown ball. And Morales, that's not tricky. That's running the seam. And you've got to be able to cover. And I'll tell you what, R.J. Sanford wasn't able to stick with him there.
That was one point that was being made by defensive coordinator Gary Anderson. He said that Stanford's going to have to be big against John Reese and big against Morales. Morales gets the better of him there. And that was a lightning-quick Oregon State 80-yard drive.
Yeah, you come out with your base run play to get Jacquizz Rodgers running, and he burst a big one for you, and then you turn right around and say, oh, okay, offensive line, great job there. Let's run the screen, because you're in pressure territory, which is between the 40s, and that breaks you for some yards. And then bam, quick strike touchdown on a seam route that really you credit Moival there with the throw, because that was pretty decent coverage. That ball had to be delivered, and it was delivered.
So now Oregon State elects to go for 2.
They're chasing points awfully early, if you ask me.
Moival sends Morales to the boundary side. Not seen a lot of Sammy Stroughter this evening, battling that hip pointer. Moival fumbles the snap. And now he's in all sorts of trouble. He fumbles it again. There's a flag down. As this play is brought to a halt, Greg Newman thwarting those efforts for Oregon State.
I got a face mask, personal foul number 60.
Oh, they're going to get another try on this one. Apparently it was a face mask.
Personal foul, grabbing the face mask, number 58. Half the distance to the goal. Replay the try.
I guess they're... Andy St. Pierre is number 58. I guess he was in the game. I didn't see him come in. He's the one they're calling it on. Give him another try here. We'll get a look and see what happens. Obviously, he drops the ball. That's number 1. Here comes Andy St. Pierre. Tough to tell. They're calling the face mask.
That's Newman.
That was Newman, number 56. You're absolutely right.
2-point try now for the Beavers. Jacquizz Rodgers trapped and stopped short. This will stay 20-15 for Utah.
When you look at the line surge by Utah, they establish the new line of scrimmage. Mike Wright, number 20, is the guy that gets in there with the big hit.
Here's Tim Neverett with more on the sidelines.
All right, one of the underlying themes of this game is the Mountain West Conference versus the Pac-10 conference. This year, the Mountain West has a 5-1 record against Pac-10 schools. I asked Mike Riley about that earlier in the week, and he said he doesn't put much stock in it whatsoever. When you talk to the Utah staff, they know the kids are aware of it, and they're playing not only for team pride, but for conference pride. They want to do better than their counterparts to the West.
Tim, his quote was, "It's not people's perception that matters," Mike Riley said. "It's about who's playing the best that day." There are no givens in college football. He loves it about this sport. And his team is in a very, very good dust-up with Utah in Salt Lake City tonight on Versus.
Well, I think Mike Riley will tell you his team isn't the team that beat USC, nor is it the team that went and got boat raced by Penn State.
I love when you use that term.
Thank you. You know, it's neither of those teams. It's somewhere in between. He knows that, and now he has to find a way to coax a little more out of this team in a real tough road game in a big-time atmosphere, in which they are used to.
Reed, who ignited the Rice-Eccles Stadium faithful with a long kickoff return his last trip, just got buried there. After a return of 10, Versus drops the puck on the new season October 9th with an NHL double dip. Opening up in Hockeytown, the reigning Stanley Cup champion Red Wings raise the banner. They rock the house with a special performance from Def Leppard. Then they'll face off against the Maple Leafs. Then we go out to Colorado, where the Avs will play host to the Boston Bruins. The NHL on Versus. Our coverage begins here in North America on October the 9th. Bad news for the Red Wings, if I saw today. Chris Chelios injured, the oldest man in the NHL. Going to be missing for a while. Brian Johnson and the Utes will look to secure the football here in the waning stages as we're getting set for the Craftsman halftime report on Versus. Back to College Football Central in just a few moments. An entertaining game. Mountain West against Pac-10.
Interesting. Aflava is not in the game.
We heard at the outset that he was bothered by a groin injury. Paya getting in there on Brian Johnson swiftly. Young man was born in Tonga. Grew up playing a lot of rugby, Glenn.
Well, you know, one thing about rugby players, you know, a lot of people talk toughness. What I talk with rugby players is they can tackle. That's what rugby's about. It's about wrapping up and using your shoulder and your arms to tackle. And you see it right there. He doesn't let Brian Johnson get away from it.
Third sack for Oregon State. Paya really didn't speak English until about 3 years ago. He's turned out to be a wonderful impact player for Oregon State. I know you were impressed by Paya and Booth, especially a week ago, as they bottled up the USC Trojans.
What I was impressed with is their explosion off the ball, their ability to attack double teams and eat up blockers, and the ability to reestablish the line of scrimmage. And I saw that out of that entire defense, but particularly the two inside. When you looked at the stat sheet, they didn't do anything. No tackles, but they determined where the ball went. They determined how the play went. They made the running backs, Joel McKnight and Gable, they made them runners they didn't want to beat.
This is 3rd and 17. Nothing fancy. Hard-hitting Darrell Mack lowering the shoulder. Greg Laybourne was waiting for him in the Oregon State secondary.
Well, Utah is just trying to end the half because they know they get the ball coming out. So there's no sense in doing something stupid, losing the ball, having a turnover, or anything that could cost you here when you know you're going to have possession coming out of the half.
A Utah squad that's won 5 of its last 7 against the Pac-10 since '03. Coming up, the Craftsman halftime report. Ted, Rowland, and Kelly at College Football Central checking in on that South Florida-Pittsburgh game. And one more time setting the table for what will be an eventful Saturday of college football on Versus. Glenn, I'll be a little bit envious while I'm getting set for Washington and Arizona and Tucson. You and Tim Neverett will be seeing a very interesting duel between the service academies, Air Force and Navy.
The Commander-in-Chief trophy at stake. The 3 service academies play each other. There's pomp, there's tradition, there's discipline. I absolutely love doing the service academy games because of the type of individual that you get to meet around University academies, and they're just great kids, and it's fun football. It's disciplined football.
And then Washington, Arizona, the Pac-10 game. The Arizona Wildcats, a program that's near and dear to your heart. Coach Stoops hasn't played very, very well in the desert.
Hasn't playing well. October's been their nemesis. They need to get over that hump. This bodes well for them with Washington being as susceptible, I think, as they could be right now for Arizona. Arizona's playing well, and they get them at home in the old Pueblo rather than having to go up to Northwest, where Washington plays everybody tough.
Kavanaugh running east-west and then running into a buzzsaw. In the final 15 seconds of this half, John Peel helped out on the tackle after a 36-yard punt. This game's gone back and forth. Started as a battle of field goals. Then Oregon State getting the interception return for 6 from Al Afalava. Kyle Whittingham's club responding with several big plays to jump back out in front. 20-15. The last man on the board was Lyle Moival. A beautiful throw to Shane Morales to bring Oregon State closer. Moival hums that one right on target. Guess who? Shane Morales getting a step on R.J. Stanford. Give him 11 on that pitch and catch.
Well, they've set themselves up. 8 seconds left. They'd have to get quite a bit to get in field goal range here. So you wonder, is it a screen to get the ball in the hands of Jaquiz and get down far enough to try that, or is it go for it here?
Right around 150 yards from Moival. I was watching Cahoot in warm-ups. Glenn, he was making field goals in this direction from 55 yards, and that's with a groin muscle injury.
Well, that's pretty good, but that's with nobody coming after you.
Moival out of the gun. Short drop. Gets away from pressure and zips this one on target. Ooh. Sammy Strotter gets wrenched to the turf by Stevenson Sylvester, and that's going to do it for the opening half. Not enough time for Moival and friends to get any more points.
Well, a good defensive battle to start this game out, Joe, but then the offense has got rolling.
Here's Tim Neverett with Kyle Whittingham.
Coach, pretty much of a dogfight here in the first half.
Yeah, it's a battle. I thought our defense played very well with the exception of that hurry up in the last 2 minutes. That's all we really gave up. Got to take advantage of opportunities in the red zone. Had a kickoff return all the way down to plus 15. Had to settle for a field goal. Got to make 7 points out of that one.
Took advantage of the turnover.
Yes, yeah, we did.
All right, Coach, best of luck second half.
Well, thank you.
Guys, thank you. They were 7-7 a season ago at the half in Corvallis. Another close one tonight, this time in Salt Lake City. College football on Versus. Coming up after the break, it's the Craftsman Halftime Report. Back to College Football Central for Ted, Rowland, and Kelly right after these words. A beautiful early October night in Salt Lake City. Oregon State in the last couple of years in games played October, November, December, they're 15-3. They trail Utah after one half of play. Let's get you downstairs to Tim Neverett with head coach Mike Riley.
All right, Joe, thanks. Mike, what'd you tell them in there after that first half?
Well, you know, it's a heck of a physical football game, and they have forced us into a number of bad plays, and we can move the ball, but they make us have some bad plays, and they're doing a good job with that. So we've got to eliminate that, keep playing defense. We've played a lot of good defense, and so it's just going to be a fight here. And I think it's a matter of having good continuity in our offense, run and pass.
Mike, thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Gentlemen, we appreciate the knowledge. Glenn Parker, have a look at the numbers.
Well, you take a look at the numbers, and those, when you get down to total yards, it looks a little bit like the Beavers should have an advantage. Don't forget, return yards aren't on there, and that there's an 80-yard difference or thereabouts in returns. That's where the extra offense comes from for Utah.
The guy who had that 79-yard return is back deep for Utah, David Reed, to receive this kick to start the second half. And the special teams kick return yardage disparity is a wide one thanks to that one lone return. There'll be no return on this one. Cahoot deposits it 7 yards deep in the end zone. So Kyle Whittingham's squad attempting to go 6-0. trying to exact some revenge from last year's 24-7 loss in Corvallis. Oregon State ran away from the Utes in the second half as you look at the two QBs through 30 minutes.
Well, Moival getting the better of it right now, that's for certain. But this is where the chess match begins. What type of adjustments were made at halftime by the coordinators? And that'll be fun to see exactly what changes for both these offenses and defenses from here on out.
Andy Ludwig said this is about the 6th time that he's matched up against a Mark Banker defense with Oregon State. So they know each other's tendencies fairly well. Johnson scrambling away from pressure and then yanked down to the grass by Stephen Paya.
Paya shows great speed there in getting this sack. Now, people might not understand why it's a sack. It's a pass play. It's a loss of 2 yards. Doesn't matter where he was. Here it is. He's got a look on the backside, and he sees his guy, but it's not open. He takes off running. Give Paya credit for just motivation and speed. That's tough for one of the big guys in there.
Paya, a guy who was recruited heavily by Utah. There are a number of stories like that. These two teams go after the same kids. Oregon State now up to 4 sacks. Castile dancing along the sideline, and Castile breaks it out across the Utah 30. Keaton Christic forced him out of bounds. It's a gain of 14.
That's why that spread offense is so effective. It's one-on-one so many times that all you got to do is break one tackle. He gets tackled there. It's a 1 or 2 yard gain. He breaks one and he gets the first down. You start affecting field position, and that's why you spread them out horizontally so there's not multiple hits on the receiver.
Coordinator Ludwig loves having Castile back. He says Brent brings personality to this offense. Brian Johnson trapped, lost the football, it squirts loose. Oregon State thinking they've got the turnover. Pernell Booth was hungry for it, and it's Oregon State football.
Utah cannot afford turnovers. That's what killed them in the first. Other than the turnover in the first half, they're up by a bit more. Now here you go. Brian Johnson has to have security with the ball. He knocks it out himself. His own knee knocks the ball out. Here's another look at it a little closer. He's holding it. He tries to switch hands with it, maybe because he sees pressure, but as he's switching, his own knee knocks it out. That's just, you got to be smarter with the football than that. You got to take what the defense is given or taken from you.
Slade Norris having a whale of a game. He forced a Joe McKnight fumble last week against SC. Second turnover for Utah in this one. A Thursday night clash. College football back on Versus. Play action. Moival to throw, wide open and right on target for Sammy Strotter, who is a do-it-all type wideout for the Beavers.
They're going to get a look here on the receiver. It's up, one goes strong, and then it's just digs. Well, just little curl routes. Both guys curl, one out, one in. It's a stop. Your DBs can't get back in time because of the play action nature. Then your quarterback also only has that one read. He can turn and fire right into that window.
Strotter missed most of last year with a lacerated kidney. He and Moival have been working hard to get their timing in sync. It's getting better and better as the season progresses. Moival again off of play action to throw. That one was high and reeled back in. Morales, much like Godfrey, is such a security blanket for his quarterback.
Well, that's the second time we've seen Morales have to go way high to get a ball. Know he's going to get hit and come down with it. This is play action off their favorite running play. He actually wants to go to James Rogers underneath, can't find him, and goes over the top to Morales.
Morales had a first half touchdown reception from Moival. He had 13 catches in the season opening loss to Stanford. This is second and short. Howard Kroom in motion. Jaquiz Rogers with a gap. Rogers into the end zone. Touchdown, Oregon State.
Well, obviously the adjustments made were attack, throwing the ball, take advantage of Moival's ability and his wide receiver's ability to get open down the field, and that'll open up the running game for you. You look here, double teams, gap blocking scheme down. Good job of Jaquiz Rogers finding the hole and then putting his hand down, running behind his pads to get the extra yard into the end zone.
The 7-yard score for Rogers, who broke the Texas State High School record for touchdowns. 136, by the way. 136. They started to call him Mr. TD.
Okay, now the guys at College Football Central and you didn't like the two-point conversion try in the first half. Here we go again, early in the third. Moival on a sprint out. Underneath, that pass is low and incomplete. Trying to get it to Brady Camp.
Well, I didn't like it in the first half. I don't mind it here. You're only up by one. Try to get a field goal out of it.
Chance for us to step away. Jaquiz Rogers, pay dirt for Oregon State. Oregon State taking the lead back on the road against Utah in Salt Lake City with college football on Versus. Mike Riley's team off of its upset of #1 USC. Coach Riley was in the stands back in '67 when Oregon State last beat a #1 ranked team. That was O.J. Simpson's USC Trojans. Mike's dad, Bud, was an assistant coach for Oregon State that day.
A little Pac-10 history. I like that.
A week ago, it was a sea of orange. Tonight, it's all red inside of Rice-Eccles. For Utah, since 2003, Glenn, they've played 10 times on Thursday. Only West Virginia with more. Thursday night showdown on Versus with K-Hoot. Putting it back into play. This is a short kick. Reed from the 9. Angles his way across the 25 and 30. Fumbled the football ahead. And it's out of bounds. It'll stay Utah ball.
Ball security becoming an issue for Utah. Right here, he's trying to make something happen. He's got the ball in one hand, and he's going to get it stripped from behind. Good tackle. That's what you do. Put your hand on the ball. Try to knock it loose. Ball security becoming an issue for Utah all of a sudden. Trying to make things happen. Trying to do too much. That happens to kids all the time. Something they have to learn, that you play football and you play to the whistle, but ball security is always #1.
The Utah coaches said they got to value possessions and stop the Oregon State tailback. Well, the Oregon State tailback just scored to give the Beavers the advantage. Ryan Johnson leads Asiata straight ahead. As we have Glenn Parker breaking out the telestrator and looking at Jaquiz Rogers getting in the end zone.
I love goal line short yardage. You're going to see a down block right here and down blocks here come around. You're going to see double bullets. That means backer in, and it's picked up. And watch the run to daylight by Jaquiz Rogers. So double bullets, picked up by the pulling guard, down by the tackle, lots of daylight, and then a good finish-off drive of the legs by Jaquiz Rogers.
And it all happened so quickly at that line of scrimmage. Johnson sets his feet, launches it deep. This will fall incomplete. Running out there was Brent Castile.
Johnson had him. Johnson took too long to find him, and by the time he decided to throw, he threw it back over the other shoulder and got Castile turned around over there.
We mentioned the injuries to both Johnson and Asiata a season ago in the Oregon State matchup. Johnson, much better after offseason surgery, much more velocity in that throwing arm.
Yeah, he's come on strong. They like what he's done. They like the fact that, I mean, he can throw the ball as far as he needs to now, but he's got to concentrate and focus on putting the ball in the hands of his receivers rather than kind of laying it up there sometimes.
60% third down conversion-wise for Utah in the early going tonight. Johnson has to get rid of that one quickly, and he does, and right on time for Freddie Brown.
Real close to that first down mark. He took a big shot, too, Joe.
Cornerback Tim Clark, the junior out of California, was right there with him, and he is lightning quick.
They're going to give a timeout and measure this. The officials want to take a look. Now, you mentioned they're 60% on third down, and what a difference that is for them, because you know, when you look at the two teams right now in third down at half, I believe Oregon 1 for 5 or 20%, Utah at 6 for 10 and 60%. That's a big difference in this ball game.
A couple inches. You know what the fans want. They want the try on fourth down.
The fans want the try on the fourth down, and then they want the coach's head when you lose a game because you went for it and didn't get it. So this is, the coach knows this is his decision completely. Now he's going for it. It's only inches, and you know, you always expect the sneak or something like that, and put it on your line. Say, guys, Zane Taylor, Robert Conley, Schlotteroff, give me the yardage.
Ryan Johnson on the keeper gets more than enough.
Well, I love the way they lined up here. They lined up with if you look at the bottom of your screen, that's a tight end kind of in a little slot between another tight end and the tackle. And all Brian Johnson does is take the snap, 2 steps to his left, and hits that gap. Well-designed little sneak, especially when you have an athletic quarterback like Brian Johnson.
He's Glenn Parker. I'm Joe Beninati. Tim Neverett with us on the sideline. College football on Versus. As we tip our cap to all the men and women in our technical crew for their help. Brian Johnson has a lot of time to throw. Down the middle and off the hands of Afalava. Nearly another interception. As we have time to send it back to Ted Robinson, checking in with him at College Football Central.
All right, Joe. Well, the ending in South Florida comes down to a Hail Mary pass by Matt Grothe from midfield. Pittsburgh held the ball for 37 minutes in this game, forcing South Florida to come to this last gasp. It is Pitt with the upset, knocking South Florida from the unbeaten. Skies?
Too much LaShawn McCoy, Ted. Another diminutive and exceptionally quick tailback, helping Pitt to that big win. 2nd and 10. Johnson on the pump fake, and then a bit strong as he tried to lead Castile over the middle.
Well, on the pass right before this one, we saw a somewhat open seam receiver, but the ball thrown too far towards the middle, towards center field, where Afalava could get to it. And this we see a pump fake and then kind of a throw off of both feet where he's got to be able to have a little better accuracy. So 2 throws in a row haven't been as accurate as they should have been. They got to find a way to get Johnson to focus. You look at his numbers, not great, less than 50% completion.
The numbers for Utah in the 3rd quarter this season, however, have been outstanding. More on that as time progresses. Johnson zips this one. Freddie Brown broke off his route. It'll be time for Utah to punt. Just past the 4-minute mark in this 3rd quarter with Oregon State in front.
It'll be interesting to see Oregon State now come out on offense and see how they decide to attack. Do they go to that passing game that's been so effective right off the bat, or do they go back to the old ways of handing the ball to Jaquiz Rogers? Now, Utah, you got your best defensive player on the field again, Louis Sakota.
Kavanaugh back to receive this punt, and that must be more in line with Sammy Strotter, normally an outstanding punt returner, being bothered by that hip pointer. Sakota hangs this one up, skying it inside the 10, and juggled at the 1. Did they keep it out? The officials are going to confer. It's a touchback. It turns out to be a 50-yard punt. Sakota was rooting for it to be 49.
Well, he did his part. His coverage teams have to be there and be aware of the ball and stop it. Now, interesting. We'll get a look at it as we go to break.
Follow the bouncing ball off the hands into the touchback. Utah fans trying to fire up their defense now. Oregon State gets possession 1st and 10 from the Beaver 20 with OSU on top by 1. Camp in motion. Jaquiz Rogers with a flag down. 2 of them actually.
Got some movement on Oregon State on the left side of the offensive line, or tight end over on that side.
Referee Claire Gossman getting things sorted out.
Fouls on both teams. Okay? Both start, number 88 offense, dead ball, personal foul, number 10 defense. Will step off 5 yards and 15 yards, automatic first down.
Well, there you go. Because it's a dead ball, I guess they both count. So it's a 5-yarder going back one way and 15 going back the other.
Not a lot of happiness on the Utah side.
No, you know, you're thinking to yourself, all right, it's going to be 1st and 15. Instead, it's 1st and 10, and you've lost 10 yards somehow.
Kyle Whittingham's squad playing on short rest, if you will. They beat Weber State over the weekend in this stadium. Playing on short rest against a team that's had a week to practice. Our good friends at the Elias Sports Bureau tell us the short rest team is 15-2.
Yeah, and there's probably a lot of reasons. One, you're forced to focus more, less time off, more focus, ready to go. Or it could be, for all we know, the team that gets the short rest is generally the better team.
Coaches talk to us about their plan to get the guys ready on the short week. There's another flag coming down before this play.
Again, on the left side of that offensive line. That stemming by the defensive line is getting to them.
Full start. 66 offense. 5 yards. First down.
What's happening is you're getting defensive stem. They're moving with the motion, and here you go. You take a look. As that motion moves, watch all the defensive linemen take a step. They're all going to shift, and when they do, big 66 Levitri gives a big bump. He's too big. He can't move. He can't hide. He gives a bump there, and the guys spot him.
1st and 15 for Lyle Moivau and the Beavers. They send the tailback straight ahead, right into the waiting arms of Mike Wright. Jaquiz Rogers, off of his brilliant performance against USC. Coaches tell us he loves the game. He works hard at it. He and his brother James, Mike Riley was telling us when they went to recruit the Rogers in high school, but the high school coaches were saying those two boys changed our entire team's work ethic.
Yeah, and I can believe that, because a culture in a team can really be one or two guys that come in that are strong personalities that change everything.
Moivau screen to Jaquiz Rogers, not going very far. Excellent defense again.
Mike Wright is right there.
17 tackles against Air Force and getting better with the scheme and getting better each week.
Well, you know, understanding what he's got here. If you take a look, he'll be coming out of the middle of your screen. He's in man coverage. What happens? The guard and center never look back in man. He splits the team. The double team right there gets right through him, makes a big play.
Oregon State is just 1 of 5 on third down conversions.
Guards and tackles and centers out on screens must recognize coverage and pick up the MAC. If they don't, you're going to play like that one.
Moivau with oodles of time. Over the middle, juggled and dropped. Incomplete. Wright put the hit on.
Well, they dropped 9 into coverage. They zone drop the nose guard, bringing him back, making it a little tougher for Moivau to see over the center. That created just a bit of indecision, and when that happens, the ball floats a little bit. Big hit by Mike Wright.
Wright found Howard Kroom and made things very uncomfortable for him as Hecker drops back into punt formation. There's Terrell Cole, the 5th different punt returner the Utes have used this season. This punt off the side of the foot works out just fine as Cole is wrestled down to the turf. Folks, coming up on Saturday, it's a Versus College football tripleheader. 12:30 Eastern Time, Big 12 Conference clash. Kansas matching up with Iowa State. Then at 4, it's the battle for the Commander-in-Chief Trophy. It begins with Navy and Air Force. And at 7:30, primetime, Pac-10 matchup, Washington and Arizona. Versus college football, it's wild out here.
Now, Joe, you're doing that Washington-Arizona game. Ty Willingham got his guys fired up. They've played some tough ball games. And Arizona with an offense that's putting a lot of points on the board.
Huge numbers for Willie Tuitama. Last year in that particular matchup, the two clubs went for better than 1,000 yards of total offense. But Washington will work without Jake Locker this weekend, and that's a big blow. Ronnie Fouch, they like, though. They like the way he throws the ball.
Well, he came in and did a great job for him in the last game, throwing the ball. He just doesn't bring everything that Jake Locker brings. Locker's one of those guys that he can change the face of a football game just by being out there. And anybody that's played against him, realizing, yeah, they haven't won a game, that's not the point. He's that good.
5 wides now for Brian Johnson on 2nd and 8. Nearing the midway mark of the 3rd quarter, college football on Versus. Darrell Mack in motion. The option pitch. And it's all sorted out defensively by Keaton Christic. Mostly a backup role for him the past couple of years. Now he's a starter. and he's everywhere on that field.
Well, he's coming right off the right side of your screen. He's going to fly up. He beats the block of break the steal, comes underneath it, makes a big-time play, and there he is right there. That's a great view. Great replay, guys. He understood. They're starting to see what Utah's bringing to the table, and that speed side to side for Oregon State is coming into play.
Another tackle for loss for Keaton Christic. 3rd down and 15 for the Utes with Reed, the motion man. The snap was low. Johnson's got to get out of there. The pass juggled, then caught. And then Reed was nearly decapitated by Afalava. Afalava and Tim Clark came a-running after David Reed. This will force a punt for Utah.
Here he comes. This is a drag route underneath and under the linebackers, but the safety Afalava coming in with a big-time hit. You try to run a drag like that, you're trying to get the ball in the hands of a playmaker and hopefully breaks a tackle and gets some yardage. Afalava was ready.
There's a playmaker for Oregon State when he's healthy. It's Sammy Straughter. Been bothered by that hip pointer this week. He's practiced very little. He's asking for a fair catch. He short hopped it off of his hands. And it's a wild scramble for the football now. That ball took a short bounce. It hit Straughter, and the Beavers got it back.
Yeah, the kids were in a position to make a play when that ball popped out. They got it. Straughter should have never tried to catch this ball. He tries to lean in rather than stepping into the ball. You must step to catch with your hands. You can't simply lean.
Chance for us to step away. We'll bring you back to Rice-Eccles Stadium in a moment. Real good one between Oregon State and Utah. If it's October, we must be getting into Thursday night football on Versus. A Mountain West versus Pac-10 matchup from here at Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City. Joe Beninati, Glenn Parker, and Tim Neverett, your announced team, as we enjoy this one. Oregon State, a winner last year at home in Corvallis early in the season against Utah, and leading this one tonight on the road. Play action for Moivau. Crossing route right on target for James Rogers. He's wrestled out of bounds by Bryce McCain. Tim Neverett has more on the Oregon State offense.
Well, they come out throwing again on this drive. That's the way the last drive ended, Joe and Glenn. You remember the pass was broken up, intended for the tight end. Howard Kroom took a real good shot over the middle. Right after that, when the Beavers offense came off the field, the Beaver quarterback, Lyle Moivau, came over and said, don't worry about it, the play is over. But it wasn't over as far as Kroom was concerned. He was doubled over for a minute and feeling the effects of that hit.
Now, Coach Mike Riley told you before we started this third quarter how physical a game this one had been. Jaquiz Rogers tracked down at the 40. Shelby was there along with Wright to make sure the slippery tailback would not go much farther than that.
Yeah, that was bad angles across the board for your offense. They were outnumbered by a man. They were outgapped by a man the entire way. And so they tried everybody to block an extra gap. It didn't work. It doesn't work against a team as fast as Utah. Maybe against a team that you're hoping to get a cutback on, but they've been playing discipline and they're fast. So they've got to find a way to get the ball in the hands of that guy right there.
The yards per carry average better than his USC performance. But all in all, Utah has kept him under wraps except for one big rushing play. Moivau escapes pressure. Shovels this one to an open Rogers. Kepa Geisen able to stalk him.
That's what having a quarterback that's 220 pounds does for you. Cole Meese does a good job of smacking into him, but doesn't wrap up, and Moivau's strong enough to just fight his way out of it.
Moivau dropped nearly 20 pounds after spring ball, so this is the lighter version.
Yeah, and you see here, I mean, he gets tripped up, but has enough to it, and then Schott puts it over to Jaquiz there. And here's another look at it. Most guys go down in that case, but not Moivau. Good balance, good athletic ability, and then vision down the field. You like that? He was looking downfield still. That's a big-time point.
3rd and a long 2. The toss. Jaquiz Rogers gets the first down. You get him out wide, you get him into space, and he creates havoc.
Well, what they did is they shifted across the formation, and that gave them the edge. They basically got an offensive overhang. See, coming across is Morales. He blocks back. Out comes your big offensive lineman. They're not hitting. They're not getting great blocks, but it's enough that you got Jaquiz Rogers with that leg drive of his. You're only looking for 2. You're not looking for 20.
Back at College Football Central, Roland Williams gave Mike Riley lots of credit in that first half for sticking with the game plan, getting the ball into Rogers' hands. This is James Rogers in motion. Rogers catches that one out in the flat on a little bubble screen. Hog-tied by Kepa Geisen.
Oregon State coming out throwing the ball a lot. Their runs are decisive. Roland said that they've stuck with the game plan. He's absolutely right. There's no panic on the Oregon State sidelines. We have a plan. We're going to execute it. Let's just keep going. And we'll throw. They're throwing maybe a little more than they would to end the half. But you saw that last drive of the half. They threw the ball well, and now they've come out throwing the ball again.
2nd and 7. Oregon State approaching 300 yards of total offense. Jaquiz Rogers hurdling one tackler and down to the 15 he roams. Sean Smith able to put a halt on him.
Well, here's a look, and you kind of get a look at what's going on. First off, you see Greg Pete pull around and push in the pile. He really doesn't get anybody hitting him until he's 5 yards down the field. And credit that offensive line, number one, with getting pushed on the double teams, but then being athletic enough to pull, get through the hole, and understand who you're supposed to hit and how you're supposed to hit him.
Effective in the red zone so far this evening. Moivau sends Camp in motion as his H-back. And then a flag flies in.
Same issue, stemming, getting the left side of that offensive line to jump a little bit.
We'll start. 66 offense, 5 yards, first down.
Gary Anderson, the defensive coordinator for Utah City, wanted to show some odd looks, some stacks, trying to confuse a very good offensive line.
Well, this offensive line's had great double teams, particularly against USC. And their double teams, what they're doing is, it's easy when you're a guard and you've got a man on you and you're double teaming to the back or over the tackle. Well, now you start throwing an odd look where you might have a guy on the nose and a guy on the guard, and then one of your backers is stacked. He's not sitting in the gap where he's supposed to be. That confuses offensive line sometimes.
Rogers, nothing there for him. Koamisi was very active in the opening quarter. Very talented defensive end against the run or the pass. We drift below 3 minutes to go in quarter 3.
Now's when you wonder the speed of these two teams. Oregon State with the rest, Utah without it. Does it become a factor as we move deeper into the third quarter and into the fourth?
Darrell Catchings is the wide out to the boundary side of the field. Moivau loops it over the middle. Hauled in by his tight end, Howard Kroom. Stevenson Sylvester made the stop.
Well, you run the middle screen again that was so successful early in the game. You run again this time, your defense is on it. You take a look, it's a 3 count, and then it's out and running. I would think it was very close to having an illegal man downfield there because you had your center and one of your guards out before the ball was thrown, and the ball was thrown past the line of scrimmage, not behind it.
So you're always watching those offensive linemen like a hawk.
Well, I love them. They're the best players on the field, let's face it.
Student section imploring the defense now on 3rd and long. Moivau drilled. Ball's free. Good hustle recovery there. The center, Linenkohl, got back on it. Paul Kruger with a devastating hit.
Well, I'll tell you what, a great hit by Kruger. The ball pops out. No one's screaming ball. Watch Kruger here. Comes underneath. It's a great TE. Knocks the ball out, but there's the ball. No one's after it. Credit Mike Remmers, number 50, the right tackle, getting back there, getting on the ball. That's a big-time play for Kruger, big-time play for this defense if you can hold him to 3 or possibly get after a kick here.
Cahoot made one from 37 in the first half. This should be 43. On the way with plenty of leg, but no good. It sailed off to the right. The students get their wish.
So now with one great play on defense, you've kept points off the board, and you've gotten better field position for that offense of yours.
That offense that is so balanced. 21-20 against Oregon State. Oregon State coming in off of a gigantic victory.
Well, right there, look at that push, but look at the leg drive by Jaquiz. Now here, hey, that was a nail right in the coffin. A good defensive play turns into a touchdown, and then how about that interception to seal things by Laybourne?
And then cue the kids in the orange T-shirts. Oregon State takes care of #1 ranked USC, and it triggered a wild celebration. They run the toss here. Eddie Wide slicing ahead. Utah trailing by 1. This is an Oregon State team the last 3 years, Glenn. It's used to taking down one of the top-ranked teams in the country.
Yeah, you know, it's comical. It's 3-2-1, but twice it's been SC, once Cal, big-time games. They're not afraid of a situation, that's for certain. Mike Riley gets them up and ready to play.
Beavers have been 6-3 in the Pac-10 the last couple of years. The last time they had 3 straight winning records inside the conference, the late 60s. Come into tonight's action 2-2. Lots of misdirection, and then the handoff did not fool Oregon State. Elijah Wesson tracked by Dwight Roberson. Roberson, they call him the prototype for a linebacker at Oregon State. 3/4 of the way through regulation. Oregon State on the road in the driver's seat on Versus. Hope you're enjoying this slugfest on Versus. 3/4 complete. Utah had been so devastating in the 3rd quarter this season. Outgunned by Oregon State, 6-zip in that frame. As a result, the Beavers control the lead against Brian Johnson. 3rd down here and 4. On the quick slant. On the money for Freddie Brown. Austin Hall was cloaked over the big receiver. Utah a season ago just 18 yards rushing against Oregon State in that loss. They've done better than that on the ground tonight. Andy Ludwig said the Beaver cornerbacks, the Beaver secondary really took the wideouts out of the game last year. Oregon State has done a nice job defensively again. Corbin Laux coming on. Yielding the ball for Asiata straight ahead.
Corbin Laux, the backup quarterback. There's a package for him. They had said they might not bring it out to the second half, and here we are in the 4th quarter, and we see it finally. Corbin Laux, a running quarterback, but he does throw and has thrown the ball.
David Reed right there front and center. Set the national junior college record for catches last year. 111. They'd love to get the ball in his hands some more today. On 2nd and long. Flare it out. Asiata spun around. Slade Norris, who has been very active along that Oregon State front 4.
Slade Norris, so impressive. It's his speed. You know, the big-time forced fumble against USC. Already tonight with sacks, pressures, great leverage play. And here, running down a running back on a bubble screen to the sideline to force a 3rd and 4. He has been all over the field for that.
Injury-plagued past for Slade Norris. His father's a chiropractor. That might help with a little bit of those bumps and bruises.
Yeah, the twisting of the back, the neck, yeah, get you all popped up there.
On 3rd and 5. Early in the 4th. Johnson's got to get out of dodge. Throws that one into coverage. It's deflected away. Afalava was keeping an eye on Brown. If you missed it earlier in the night, Afalava took a Brian Johnson pass back the other way for 6. That happened in the 1st quarter. Or early in the 2nd, we should say. A 26-yard INT for the touchdown. Louis Sakota on to punt it away. Kavanaugh going to let this one fly, and it bounds into the end zone for a touchback. Just getting going in the fourth quarter. Pac-10 against Mountain West here at the home of the Utes on Versus.
College football on Versus is brought to you by Under Armour Performance Trainers, the first pure performance training footwear at the Sports Authority.
Bringing you back inside Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City with college football on Versus this Thursday night. Good showdown between the homestanding Utes and the visiting Oregon State Beavers. Oregon State's quarterback Lyle Moival, Glenn, is heating up in the second half, much more accurate.
Yeah, 11 of his last 12 passes. He's doing pretty well, I'd say. They found his rhythm.
Coaches say he has a magnetic personality. Drops this one over the middle, finds the big tight end there. Across the 30, pickup of close to 11. Brady Camp and Howard Kroom, they split that tight end duty.
Well, you know that when you roll out and you get your normal rollout is read 1, 2, and you never come back across your body, but unless it's designed, and that's exactly what this was. They designed this blocking out. You get Brady Camp out blocking, and then he comes back across the body of the quarterback, so it's an easy throw. You're not really throwing back into coverage.
Very important defensive stand here for Utah. Off the play action, Moival, beautiful throw, completes it right on the target there for Darrell Catchings into Utah territory.
What you're seeing is Moival's accurate and Brian Johnson is not at this point, and you're seeing a little bit more speed out of Oregon State than Utah can handle. Here's your replay, and you get a look, and it's a little crossing route deep. It pulls the corner up into the safety, and the linebacker Sylvester Stevenson can't get back, or excuse me, Sylvester can't get back deep enough to affect the throw.
Catchings is another guy who is highly recruited by Utah. These two teams share so many recruits, and they battled year after year to get the top players as Jacquizz Rodgers was buried in his tracks by Greg Newman. Newman said earlier this week, these are the games why I play football, for these sorts of situations.
Yeah, I think any kid worth his salt wants to be national TV against a good ball club, particularly wants to make a play when a play is called for. And right now, you know what? You need to stop. As Greg Newman comes up big on first down. Now you got to do it a couple more plays.
That young man has been tough as nails. On 2nd and 9, 3 minutes into the fourth, Oregon State in white. Draw. Not a lot of room for Jacquizz Rodgers. Mike Wright had that diagnosed from his middle backer position.
Yeah, Mike Wright, not your typical, you know, he's 6'2", 230. He's not but he doesn't look that big. He looks smaller than that. It almost looks like a safety playing backer out there. But great side-to-side movement and really hits the gaps hard, attacks him. And you watch that all night tonight, he has been where he's had to be.
Oregon State, Glenn, just 2 for 8 on third down conversions. They need more than 7 here. Moival batted down. That was a storyline in the opening half. And it was Wright again who was searching for the football.
Well, here you go. If you can't get there, get your hands up. That's Mike Wright. Picket fence, knocking it down.
Mike Wright, a former walk-on to this team in 06, a transfer from Southern Utah, and more of a starring role on defense each and every week. Hecker launches this one high in the air. Cole will let it fall, and it bounces over the head of Oregon State special teams player right there. Over the head of Henderson. National Hockey League opening up in North America with a doubleheader on the 9th. In Hockey Town, Stanley Cup champs Red Wings squaring off with the Maple Leafs. Don't miss Def Leppard that night. And then out to Colorado. The Avalanche and the Boston Bruins will hook up. The NHL on Versus. Coverage begins October 9th.
You fired up for hockey, Joe?
I'm ready.
I know you are.
I'm ready for that Boston-Colorado matchup. Joe Sakic and Paul Stastny. It's the teacher and the student. Sakic, a surefire Hall of Famer, coming back for one more kick at the can. College football on Versus tonight. Big hole. Asiata down the sideline and into Oregon State territory.
Well, I'll tell you what, well-designed play, a little misdirection. They bring Caleb Schlauter off from his left guard spot all the way around, and he will absolutely collapse the end. I want you to watch here. This is great stuff. Watch 72. Now he turns, and he gets the corner. Because of that, Asiata can get upfield and get rolling. Everybody on the line doing their job. Good job, Asiata, protecting that football and getting the extra yards.
Asiata getting the congratulations on the sideline. He got a couple of one-yard plunges in that win over Weber State back on Saturday. The Utes now 31-0 against teams from the Big Sky Conference, tangling with a Pac-10 rival tonight. Laux gives the ball inside. Bryant Cornell, the middle backer for Oregon State, was right there on the job.
Well, you hit wide, so what you do is try to come back in the middle and catch them over pursuing. Oregon State, good job. Everybody across the middle, but their backers, everybody staying home that time. Good job by that defense.
Brian Johnson checking that wristband. Tim Neverett, on our sideline reporter, telling us there are, what, 70 plays possible on that wristband. Goes through all the checks and balances at the line of scrimmage. Keeps it simple. Darrell Mack, who they were thinking about redshirting last year, and then he explodes to have such a wonderful campaign. Utah finished 9-4, 5-3 in the Mountain West. Oregon State was also 9-4. Finished in third place in the Pac-10 behind USC and Arizona State.
Well, Kyle Whittingham has a decision to make here. You're at 3rd and 5. Obviously, you go for it, but if you don't get it, what do you do? Because you're going to be in that odd zone where Louis Secola could make you a field goal and go ahead, or do you try to get a little more? It's an interesting spot there.
Out of the gun. Ryan Johnson tucks it back down. Throws it off the hands of his intended target. He was looking for Brent Castillo. Austin Hall was drawing a bead on him.
I think he has to go for it because you're looking at 53-yarder or thereabouts. Do they think Sakota can make it, or they let him punt it?
Sakota made a career-best 53-yarder in Ann Arbor against Michigan in that season opener.
Well, you'd be 37, 47. Yeah, you'd be 54, 55 yards. I think they're going to punt.
Remember, Sakota is 3 for 3 on fake punts in his career, completing passes, looking for first downs or more.
And they will punt.
Taylor Kavanaugh drops back deep for Oregon State. Sakota got a lot of leg into this one, into the end zone.
So you gain yourself 17 yards for your defense. It's that's one of those decisions that he'll have to answer for, obviously.
Mike Riley pleased with his defense. Oregon State has the lead on the road by the slimmest of margins. Being entertained with college football at the U of U, University of Utah, inside of Rice-Eccles Stadium. Oregon State on the lead, 21-20. The last touchdown provided by Jacquizz Rodgers. Oregon State has the ball now, and they'll look to chew up some of that game clock. Howard Kroom in motion. Jacquizz Rodgers, knife down to the 22.
Mike Wright, great job once again filling the gaps. But you talked about that last touchdown by Oregon State, and you know what? Well, as we take a look at the numbers, he's had quite a night tonight, even compared to that USC game. But that touchdown, that comes off a fumble. Neither team has really done much other than that touchdown, and neither team, even then, it was because of the fumble, not because of what the offense has done.
Mike Riley's team, Oregon State in general, amazing when they take advantage and they have the better of the turnover story. More on that in a moment. Moival wants to wheel it out into the flat, and he does. Nice moves on the outside. They told us that Catchings was a very gifted player, and we've seen flashes of that.
Yeah, and once again, that's that spread. It's not really the spread offense, but listen, when you throw out your wide receiver out there, one missed tackle, and you've got yourself 8-9 yards. That's what you do with it. And if you can get it in the hands of a playmaker, you can bet on him making someone miss.
Over the last 50-plus games, Glenn, Oregon State is 23-2 when they commit fewer turnovers than their opponent. They've done that so far tonight. Utah has coughed it up twice to Oregon State's 1. Third down and short. Moival keeps and drags that football to the 31.
Yeah, you get yourself you got a good offensive line here. Hey, you want to get that yard. Look at that push. Look at that surge. Double teams across the board. Hips are low. Butts are pushing through. Great job, Moival following his guys.
One of the matchups you were really going to pay close attention to, Andy Levitri against Paul Kruger. Everybody thought that that would be a very, very enticing matchup. Two of the top players on the field.
So far, it's been a battle. Each one's gotten the better of the other a couple of times.
Moival, they love this little tight end screen, little open up flash play for Camp. He pounds ahead close to first down yardage again.
Yeah, this is naked. Fake handoff, comes back around. Your tight end blocks for a short bit on Kruger and then jumps away and becomes the outlet. Good job of Moival taking one look downfield, knowing where that outlet was.
Very effective play. The instinctive Paul Kruger waiting his next chance to get after number 3 in white. Lots of options here on second and short. Jaquiz Rogers nailed in the backfield. Bryce McCain came up to put a helmet right on him, along with Joe Dale.
But really, the credit has to go to Mike Wright. He got through the gap first, almost had the tackle on Jaquiz, and what that does is redirect him right into the arms of McCain. You watch, the first guy here is Mike Wright. He's going to come right there. He's the one that turns him right. He's the determinator. He might not make the tackle, but he determines where the ball goes.
Took such a big role last year when starting middle linebacker Joe Giannone was nipped. That playing time he got as a reserve has really helped him this early fall. On 3rd and 3 now. Morales is the motion man into that bunch formation. Jaquiz Rogers, no room. Stevenson, Sylvester bear hugged him. There is a flag down.
It looks as if it's on Utah.
Personal foul, grabbing the face mask, number 11, defense.
Ouch.
15 yards, automatic first down.
Well, there's Paul Kruger. There's the guy we talk about football IQ. Well, it caught him here. See what happens. He gets in the backfield here. He's the one that redirects. And that's, probably part and parcel. And there is a face mask. And it's probably part and parcel to Jaquiz being so short. Kruger's a little tired right now. He's coming up out of his stance a little more. He's a little higher than he should be, and that arm catches the face mask. That's how you get a penalty. And now all of a sudden you've lost field position. The clock is ticking. Oregon State's doing a very good job in the second half of moving the ball, not necessarily scoring.
Utes showing blitz, and there's movement along the line of scrimmage.
Mike Remmers, the right tackle, gets a little anxious. Hate to call out the big guys. I hate doing that.
Full start. Number 50, offense, 5 yards, first down.
Mike Remmers' brother Vic played basketball at Oregon State. He's been a real big surprise to OSU. A redshirt freshman coming in and anchoring that right tackle position.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm very impressed with this offensive line, and I've said before, great double teams. They're getting onto the second level, but the whole right side from the center over, they only have 14 starts between them, and that's a young group to be playing in big situations like this and playing as well as they are.
1st and 15. Jaquiz Rogers gobbled up again by Mike Wright. They try to wrestle the ball free as Stevenson Sylvester got into it a little bit.
Yeah, Andy Levitri and Stevenson Sylvester. Levitri just blocked him down the field a little bit, and Sylvester didn't like it, and they, both of them were a little extracurricular there.
Both of those guys, leaders on the field. Both of them are team captains. for their respective clubs. Mountain West Conference has beaten the Pac-10 5 out of 6 straight up this season. Oregon State of the Pac-10 has the lead, and they are draining the game clock in the 4th at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Staying on the ground.
No matter what, if I'm Utah, I like my spot right now. I am a field goal away with one of the better kickers in the country on my bench. And all I have to do is hold. If I get a turnover, great. All I have to do is hold, not let points on the board, and have the ball with a chance to win with my kicker. It's hard to ask for much more than that.
We just leaked below 4 minutes to go in the 4th. Joe Beninati, Glenn Parker, Tim Neverett with you, your announce team. Thanking all the men and women in our technical crew. Fans, the students, and the musts are getting up in arms. With college football on versus Moivau under pressure. Nice looking pass. He's got it complete. Jaquiz Rogers hitting the brakes. Inside the 10, down to the 5. And a huge play for Oregon State.
3rd down, midfield. You call a screen because you think they're bringing pressure. They bring pressure, you hit the screen, and you hit them right in the mouth with it. Great job of play calling by Oregon State and Danny Langsdorf.
2nd time tonight, Jaquiz Rogers has been on the receiving end of one of these monster screen plays.
Yeah, and right there's the middle backer. That's Mike Wright coming in. So he's on coverage. That puts your safety, Sean Smith, up trying to stop the screen pass, and when he doesn't, you break out loose and get into the secondary.
James Rogers and Darrell Catchings to the wide side of the formation. Jaquiz Rogers launching himself down to the 3. Mike Wright was around the ball carrier again. And all of a sudden, it gets a whole lot quieter in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, your fans here, I think, upset with the way the second half has gone. You know, you go into halftime and you're up by 5. You haven't won the turnover battle. You haven't done what you think you should do, and now here you are. You're down by 1, and it looks like Oregon State's going to get after you and score another one.
Another big all-purpose performance from Jaquiz Rogers. Kroon in motion. Moivau for Jaquiz Rogers. He pinballs off of one tackler, but won't go much farther than that as he stalled near the 1.
You see the leg drive out of that kid, though, you know, and once again, it's so easy to get caught up in, oh, he's short. Don't fool yourself. He's got great vision. He's got great leg drive, and that's what's impressive.
Out of Lamar High School in Richmond, Texas, Mike Riley, his head coach, said, oh, we knew he'd be good. He has been very, very good. Trying to help Oregon State put a hammerlock on this game on the road.
Oregon State's come out in the second half, offensively done all the things you ask of your team. You know, they haven't put on points on the board other than a touchdown off of a turnover. They've missed a field goal, but they've eaten clock. They've absolutely eaten clock. Utah, on the other hand, has done nothing in the second half.
Utah coming into this at 5-0, top of the heap in the Mountain West Conference. They expect to tangle with BYU and TCU all the way through the balance. That unblemished record is in jeopardy right now.
That it is, and you look at the way things are working. BYU has Utah State tomorrow night. They're looking to set themselves up. If you're Utah, you're saying we got to get through this game to set up those showdowns against TCU and BYU and stay in the hunt. And so look for them to throw the toolbox here at Oregon State.
Coverage on Versus continues, part of a triple header on Saturday afternoon. Navy will square off with Air Force. The Falcons at 3-1, Navy at 3-2. Back to the goal line situation for the Beavers. Multiple tight end set. Play action. Moivau on a roll over the middle. Touchdown! He ripped it right in there to Brady Camp.
Well, once again, you know what it is. It's that roll out one way. Brady Camp blocking, comes off the block and gets himself there. You want to watch, look at your tight end. Big 83 is going to find himself come in from the left side of your screen block and then just get himself and set in the window. When he sets in the window, Mike Wright, who's playing run because that's his job, can't get back fast enough to get on that tight end.
They say that Kroom is the best receiver-blocker combo of the tight ends. Camp, a good blocker in short yardage situations, has made a couple of very good catches, and an insurance touchdown catch right there, perhaps, for head coach Mike Riley. The lead grows to 8 for Oregon State. Back for the conclusion in a moment. Just over 2 minutes to go in this one. You can see Utah has not put a point on the board in the second half. You cannot say the same for Lyle Moivau, the man with a magnetic personality, the quarterback for the Oregon State Beavers. A huge score just a few moments ago, connecting with his tight end, Brady Camp.
Utah's had 4 punts and a fumble that resulted in a touchdown in the second half. They've been soundly beaten in the adjustment game in the second half. Now it's a matter of what do they got left in the tank? What did Kyle Whittingham say to him? Say, you got 2 minutes to go, season on the line, dreams are on the line. What are we going to do here?
They kick it away from David Reed. Fielded by an up back. Lowering the shoulder, bounding his way to the 37, 38-yard line. Brian Johnson has not had the most effective performance.
Extracurricular activity down there. Well, you know, Brian Johnson hasn't been good. You know what? Here's the thing. He's been inaccurate with his passes, indecisive with his passes. When he's run the ball, he's been somewhat effective, but mostly chased down by the speed of that Oregon State defense. And listen, you can't throw a ball to center field without the center fielder catching it. That's just what happened. Brian Johnson not having the best game, not having the game they needed him to have tonight. That's for sure, Joe.
Junior Fonua brought that back for Utah. Offsetting penalties, 1st and 10. Brian Johnson's first half and second half almost mirror images, save for the yardage gained.
Now you wonder, is that short kick going to come back to haunt Oregon State? You've given them a short field.
The deficit for Utah is 8. Johnson sets his feet, puts it out there for Godfrey. Angling him down to the turf, it's Roberson. We see now how the Utes will manipulate this 2-minute drill.
The trick for them is this. Their wide receivers have not been able to beat coverage by the DBs of Oregon State. So they've got to find a way to get the ball in the hands of these guys or to get the DBs to jump routes.
Oregon State rushing 4 wideouts in the pattern there. Clark put a crunch onto Freddie Brown.
Now they'll stop the clock for this first down, but then it's going to start clicking again. Utah's got to get up, get ready to go. 1:48, plenty of time for them.
Those new timing rules affecting the latter play in regulation.
Well, because the clock's ticking, you really got to pay attention to your timeouts, and that's what offensive coordinators have to do, head coaches have to do.
Off the pump fake, Johnson sings it in there. He's got Castile deep in Oregon State territory. So 24 yards.
So a couple of underneath passes, a couple of things to get the safeties thinking, and then you go a little deep on the seam. So now we know how they're trying to get the ball down the field. They put themselves in a spot here. First down on the 25. Lots of time on this clock.
Castile and Brown to the wide side of the formation. Johnson over the middle. A strike on target. Godfrey, touchdown. 26 yards.
I'll attack that seam route. They did it early in the game and misfired on it twice. This time he finds Braden Godfrey right where he's got to be. You know, Godfrey's the guy they like over the middle on the seam. And this is really simple. He's just running a seam route, a little post from his wide receiver spot. Safety never gets there. Your Sam Backer tries to help out and doesn't get back as well.
So here's your play of the game. 28-26 Oregon State on the lead. Utah going for 2 to tie with just less than 90 seconds to go. Brian Johnson throws back of the end zone. Nothing there. Reed upset. A late flag comes in. Very late.
I don't know what they're going to rule. Obviously, the flag coming in seems like it's interference, but was the ball catchable? Could he have gotten back to it? It doesn't matter.
Pass interference. Defense. 41. Ball will be played.
It certainly was interference. When you look, The ball's behind him. Receiver stops, just gets run into by Bryant Cornell. Or excuse me, that was Craig Laybourne. The official misspoke. He called it on Bryant Cornell. It was Craig Laybourne with the interference.
So here's a second chance at the two-point conversion. Play action. Brian Johnson rolls, tucks it down, sprints to the corner, and it's tied.
Well, Andy Ludwig, offensive coordinator for Utah, took his time getting his adjustments down, but when he did, it was certainly successful. There's a nice little rollout. Your tight end gets bumped enough that he can't get there, but no one's got the speed to catch Brian Johnson running for the post.
Just another Thursday night on Versus.
It's another great game between a Mountain West team and a Pac-10 team. Love the enthusiasm on both sidelines. Guys are getting after it.
All the way down to the bitter end. Still plenty of time left on the game clock in the fourth quarter.
From what we've seen out of Moivau in the second half, it is not beyond expectations for Oregon State to move the ball right down the field. You know what they're going to do? They're going to get the ball in the hands of their playmakers. Morales, Rogers, Jaquiz Rogers. They're going to do their best using their tight ends on rollouts. We've seen their MO now. We know what they are in the second half. Let's see what Danny Langsdorff comes up with to thwart this Utah defense with a minute and a half to go.
R.J. Rice leading the cheers for the kick coverage team. Patrick Henderson and James Rogers front and center, hoping for a chance to return this kick from Vroman. Glad you've tuned in with us. Down to the wire, Oregon State and Utah. And Vroman hammers it through the end zone. 1st and 10, Oregon State from its own 20.
Now, go back to the kickoff from Oregon State. Short kickoff gave Utah a short field to the 40-yard line. You see it time and again. Trust your coverage teams. Kick it long. Put it out there. Trust your coverage teams. You only had one return. Most of the time, you've been good.
Mike Riley said he'd have no trouble keeping his guys grounded after they beat USC a week ago. All he had to do was show them a Utah game film and say that's one whale of an opponent. And this has been a dramatic football game in Salt Lake City. And the fans now are at full throat. Moivau to throw. Pressure coming from Shelby. And this one is incomplete. McCain was there. While Moivau has been deadly accurate in the second half.
Moivau naked again, fake the handoff, looking at his tight end. Tight end's covered, gets knocked down. Good coverage by your DP right there. Bryce McCain, right where he's supposed to be.
James Rogers, such a versatile threat for Lyle Moivau.
Moivau's been so good in the second half. You wonder where Danny Langsdorff's going to find him now, find a way for him to make a play.
They run that fly sweep for James Rogers, nothing there.
Sean Smith right where he's supposed to be, staying home.
Loves to have fun, Glenn. He was crowing about it as he ran James Rogers out of bounds. The 21-year-old junior, Sean Smith. This will bring up 3rd and 7.
Well, now the question for Gary Anderson, defensive coordinator for Utah: bring pressure or sit in zone and wait and try to let them beat you. Because if you bring pressure, they're thinking, all right, pressure. I want to throw the screen. So not a normal pressure situation though at 3rd and 7 at this part of the field.
Moivau out of the gun. Heaves it, intended for Morales, and he got him at the 29. R.J. Stanford was there. It's close to first down territory.
They're marking him a yard short. We'll take a look at the replay here. Moivau turns, got an absolute gun. Puts it on him, and he is out of bounds. And now they reverse their call and come back and say it's incomplete, out of bounds. Oregon State's going to punt, and Utah, with a minute left on the clock, got some time.
All of a sudden, it's nerve-wracking for Oregon State again. Hecker drops back in punt formation. Johnny Hecker, freshman punter. Terrell Cole, back deep for Utah. It's bedlam at Rice-Eccles Stadium. A low knuckler. Corkscrews out of bounds. And look at where Utah will get the football at its own 45 after a 32-yard punt.
You know, here we talked about Brian Johnson didn't do anything the second half. He comes right out and leads them down the field. That's what they talk about, the maturity of Brian Johnson. He knows he hadn't had a good game. He doesn't let it affect him. He focused, and he led that team on a scoring drive, and here he has a chance to lead them on a winning drive. That's why they like Brian Johnson so much, because when things are against him, he sometimes plays his very best.
Caution to the wind, 5 wideouts for Brian Johnson. Short drop and throw, it was low. Driving in there quickly, looking to pick that off was Tim Clark.
Dangerous throw. Very dangerous throw.
Uh-huh.
Kyle didn't look too happy by that either. He's like, hey, let's be safe here. Let's be smart. We want to win, but we also need to fight another day, too. We have to look at this and say it's a tie game. Let's not give them the ball game in the process of trying to take it from them.
Moving to the final minute of regulation. Tied up at 28. Johnson scampers away. Shovels this one for Mack. And he put a shoulder on his tackler, Roberson. Darrell Mack, sometimes he gives as good as he gets.
Yeah, he lowered the boom there. Both guys. I think all three of them are going to have a headache, but Utah uses one of its timeouts. It's got one left here.
28-28, we check in with Tim Neverett on the sideline.
Well, Joe and Glenn, midway through the fourth quarter, the wind started picking up here after a very, very calm evening at Rice-Eccles Stadium. It's blowing hard out of the north and coming right down the hash marks. If the Utes get in position for a field goal, even if it's 50-plus, look for Sakota to kick this one with the wind at his back. They couldn't have planned it any better as far as the weather is concerned.
Tim Sakota just became Utah's all-time leading scorer last week. He broke a 76-year-old record. He had 3 field goals in that win over Weber State.
So they need to pick up anywhere from 8 to 10 yards to get in that range for Sakota with that wind at his back. It's a swirling wind, it looks like. Now, Tim told us it's right down the hashes, and he's down there. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't feel comfortable unless I get him up to the 35, maybe the 32.
Johnson over the middle on target. Complete first down. Who else but Braden Godfrey? Clutch situations. Johnson is always looking for that man in whom they trust. Time ticking again. Now at 40 seconds left. Johnson airs it out. Castile gets a foot in bounds.
That's an absolutely huge play to get after a safety, to try to get after Laybourne, to beat that coverage, to get yourself in a position now where you're looking at about, what is that, a 41-yarder.
5-0 Utah, 15th ranked in the land, trying to keep up its unbeaten ways with college football on Versus. So glad you've tuned in for this one. Down the stretch here for Brian Johnson. Run it. Darrell Mack. Collard just shy of the 20. Laybourne put a hand on him. Tick-tock, tick-tock, down to 20.
Well, Utah's got one more timeout they can use. No, looks like they're going to spike the ball here rather than use the timeout. They better hurry.
Brian Johnson still looking for instructions. 7 seconds now.
Kyle Whittingham's got the ear of the official on the sideline over there.
Takes the timeout with 1 tick left. Louis Sakota, 2-time Mountain West Special Teams Player of the Year, A former walk-on who walked his way all the way to All-American status is going to have the chance to win it amidst all the Louis cheers at Rice-Eccles Stadium.
No, we talked about him all game long, maybe one of the better defensive players because of his punting prowess, but also his ability to make the field goal when you ask him. And this is what he practices for every day when he's by himself. Him and the other punters and kickers and snappers, they're all by themselves, not part of the team. They're over there, and in their mind, they're thinking, I got to kick. Game's on the line. That's what they practice in their head, and here he gets that shot. Gets a chance to prove why he's the talk of this stadium.
So widely popular. In a charity auction where you could bid on a date with local athletes, guess who got the lead bid? Louis Sakota. They've put one more second back on the clock. This will be a try from 38. Sakota's got it on the way. Bullseye! Utah victorious. Louis Sakota, before the year, Glenn, he was reading books, golfers who have some trouble concentrating. He was reading those same types of books to get his mental focus right. How you recover after you miss one, how you recover after you make a great one, how you perform in the clutch. He just did it.
All kickers at any level, particularly in the NFL, though, and in college, realize that it's just like a golfer. Your leg swing has to be the same all the time.
A look now at our Lee Jeans Quality Player of the Game, none other than Louis Sakota.
Calm under fire, game on the line, a big-time rush in his face, and he puts it through. Quality Player of the Game.
Capping a brilliant comeback for Utah in the final 2 minutes of regulation. They rally back, they score a touchdown, a two-point conversion to tie, and still win it in regulation. Thanks to Sakota.
Well, we talked about the ability to have Sakota on your bench. It's big time.
This one was a thriller in Salt Lake City. For Glenn Parker, for Tim Neverett, for all the men and women in our crew, Joe Beninati, thanks for your time. Utah stays unbeaten, the 15th ranked team in the land, 31-28, as we send you now to College Football Central. Back to Ted Robinson.
All right, Joe, well, incredible joy in Salt Lake City as the Utes stay alive, still undefeated, and they will stay, obviously, no worse than their present rank. And for Oregon State, that's bitter agony. How do they lose, allowing 2 scores against them in the final 2 minutes of the game?
Well, the guy that deserves a lot of credit is the Utah offensive coordinator, Andy Ludwig. That guy was